Coming up, we're doing the Hot Ones Challenge with Jonathan Nethercutt. We talked through Nutt's top 5 throwers of all time. After we finished recording, we thought of a few others that maybe should have made the list. So let us know who's on your list. This episode of Pod Practice is brought to you by Kiko Socks. Soft from the moment you put them on until you take them off. What you'll notice most is what you don't notice. Achy feet and crusty socks. Our formula of moisture-wicking materials, targeted stitch counts, and fiber compositions to create user and activity-specific designs, keeping your feet comfortable all day long. They're so comfortable, we back each and every pair with our no questions asked comfort guarantee.
I just have one closing thought, and you can clip this to the beginning, but if you're just listening to this on Spotify, you can maybe skip, unless you want to hear the pained reactions after we ate the wings. I would skip through the next 5 minutes after we ate the wing. I hope you guys enjoyed the pod. Be sure to follow us on Instagram or YouTube at podpractice_pod. Email us at show@podpracticepod or listen on Spotify at podpractice. We got the music or what?
I can play it on here, maybe. I can't do it officially because it comes to unless you all have headphones.
I got headphones.
No.
I'm gonna be very distracted by the Nuggets game.
Okay.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Ever so slightly.
Sounds like disturbing.
That's getting you in the mood, kind of. All right. There we go. Welcome to a special episode of Pod Practice. Our first episode all under one roof. Today, we're doing the Hot Ones Challenge. So who better to bring on than the man with the spiciest throws, John Nethercutt. Nutt is a Callahan winner, AUDL MVP, Multi-World Club Player of the Year, college champion, as a player and a coach, a club champion, a YCC champion as a coach, and hopefully a soon-to-be AUDL champion. Nutt, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to be here. Maybe not excited for the event itself. I think the Hot Ones is a really cool idea in theory, and then when you get closer to it, I'm starting to feel pretty nervous.
Yeah. Kins and Quinn, you do anything to prep for these hot wings today?
Yeah, I think you said it best before. I was too busy to be nervous, but now I'm really scared.
Yeah, I think we're all getting a little nervous.
No, I did no prep. I'm ready to go. Gonna raw dog it with no liquid.
Yeah.
Hardo.
His life has been prepped for this, so Kins is ready.
Before we get going, though, shout out to our friends down at CC for capturing the D3 Men's Championship today. Wasabi, also some spicy guys.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, perfect. So, Nat, you are actually, maybe we'll do our first wing here.
One, right?
This is Quinn. Can you read us? What are we eating here? This is
The classic hot sauce.
Oh, I have to share. Yeah,
The classic hot sauce, chili maple by Heatonist.
Chili maple.
it's
eh?
I think it's
Scoville
it's
are we
from
talking here?
Yeah, from the show, from Hot
Does it
Ones.
say
Couple
Scoville
hundred?
on here?
Maple isn't maple syrup.
I believe so. I don't know if we've got. I don't think we have Scoville on
Strongly feel like that's the right maple.
Some of
yeah.
them probably do. Some of them don't.
No worries, you can just make it up.
No, there's a little heat
10.
level.
10.
2 out of 10.
2 out of 10.
2 out
But
of
that's
10.
not an
Two
official
Scovilles
Scoville.
out of 10.
Two
But
peps.
we can gauge it relative to all the other ones.
All right, are we
All
doing
right.
this?
So,
I'm sharing this one with you, Nut. So
Yeah.
take a bite, and I'll take a bite.
wow, you hammered. We're supposed to consume the whole wing or just a bite?
It's a little one.
We don't need to, but
Mine was
it's not
well.
spicy, so we might as well. I'm kind of hungry.
Yeah, I could see that being the only one we consume in full.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm consuming everyone in full.
It's a lot of big talk, man.
Big time player. I think it's good.
That one is actually good.
I will say it's honestly like a normal hot sauce, which does
Frighten me.
get me. It's not like a normal spicy hot sauce, but it's comparable to like a Texas Pete.
Yeah, like if I was putting it on a 1, I think that wouldn't be my 1. It'd be like a lot more mild. So Yeah, it makes me pretty nervous for 2.
Yeah, that was
That one's
spicier
not
than I
too bad.
expected.
Not
It's
too
not
bad.
too
Not bad, little
but
subtle
spicier
burn.
than I expected.
Yeah, but spicier than any one I would normally give on a scale. Like if I ordered that at a restaurant, 1 out of 10, I'd be upset.
No.
You know?
Yeah, agreed.
Well, anyway, so now you're from a small town in North Carolina. What name again? What was it called?
Maori.
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 Murray.
Murray.
What sports did you play growing up, and how did you get into frisbee? And when did you first start playing?
I grew up mostly playing baseball. I played baseball for, I think, like 15 years. I started super young with T-ball and then just kept playing and played travel ball and high school ball and everything else kind of in between. And my dad coached me for a long time, so we were like a big baseball family. And then also played basketball and football in high school and ran track while I was in high school as well. My cousin played tennis like super competitively, so I played tennis for a couple years. So kind of like a mishmash of a little bit of everything. But baseball was by far my primary sport. And then kind of football took center stage in terms of at least what I spent most of my time practicing towards once I got to high school.
Were you a good thrower in all the other sports?
Pitcher, right?
Yeah, I was a pitcher.
What was your top speed?
My top speed? I actually don't know. I caught most of my career. I actually started as a second baseman, but then got moved to catcher when we moved to like the little league level where you pitch to each other. Because my best friend had a heater and no one else could catch it. So I got moved to catcher to deal with that the whole time. And then kind of got stuck there for a long time, but pitched through high school and middle school too. So, and I played soccer and was a goalie in soccer and 6 years of hockey.
So everything.
Everything.
And
So
almost everything was behind the play, like goalie and hockey and
What about
soccer.
football?
Wide receiver and safety.
Cool.
So not QB. So your dad's a coach too, huh?
He was for baseball. Yeah. Not
Yeah.
like necessarily like didn't coach any school ball or anything like that, but was like a parent coach.
What does he think about Ultimate, and did you get a love of coaching from him?
What he thinks about Ultimate. He enjoys Ultimate for sure. Like he's a sports fan in general, so he's pretty easy to spot at games because he's like always far off in a corner, like away from everybody, just like watching the game. I think he likes Ultimate the more he watches it, and he's been watching it for a while now and actually has a pretty good gauge of it. He used to like joke about things like in terms of like what we could have done better, and now he'll actually say things where I'm like, wow, okay, like that actually makes sense strategically. Yeah, like we should have been better on that. So I think he likes it. I think it's fun, and I think he's excited just to like have somebody in the family that's continuing to play sports so
Yeah.
he can follow along.
Yeah.
But I think he's pretty excited about it. He watches all the games and is tuned in. I get a text from him and my mom after every game about how we did. So
What'd they say about our game last week?
they said it was great. Yeah, she said Dad was locked in the whole time. But I don't know if they're always analyzing our play style and quality of play so much as it was a great performance or from an encouraging, supportive
Good
side
job,
of
son.
nice work. You got it. So, and then I guess for part 2 of that question, whether I got my love of coaching from him, I don't, probably not, maybe some, but we always had a bit of a fiery relationship as a coach player duo because he was my dad and my coach. So I don't know if how we interacted as player and coach was like a good suggestion of like, oh wow, this seems like something I'd be excited to do more of. So
And then how did you get into frisbee and when did you start playing?
I got into frisbee. Like North Carolina has this thing called Governor's School, which is like an academic retreat program. Like a couple people from each school district end up going, and it's like a college prep type thing. You're there for like 6 weeks, and you have like a major field of study, and it's like replicating a college feel. And the RA that I had, a guy named Thomas McKeever, was a handler from Middlebury, and that's like when they were like doing the D1 thing for a little while. And you have tons of free time because you're taking like 2 to 3 classes a day, and it's like 400 other kids your age, and a lot of people that are like multi-sport athletes and all that type of stuff. So he taught us essentially just loosely how to play. It was like, here's how you throw a flick, kind of. Good luck figuring it out. A backhand, and here's the general rules, like score it in the big box at the end. But like no sidelines, no like real end zone. We played like a bunch of like 20-on-20 something games. That's kind of how I got my start. And I remember like towards the end of that, we played like a showcase game of like dorm versus dorm. And it was like a 14 versus 14. And I was like, holy smokes, like this is sick. Like 14 versus 14, like this is the way to play it.
So much space.
Yeah. And then I would like still throw a little bit when I got back home. Like I had a group of people, we would go out and play, but it was like super small. And we would play like 4v4 on like a full-size football field because we just like
AUDL preview.
Yeah, it was AUDL preview. It was with a 210-gram disc.
Oh, you can throw on the wind with that, though.
Yeah, it was like a beach wind disc, but it was like the only one we had. So
You should play with those in real windy games.
Honestly,
I'm
maybe.
in.
Yeah.
I'm in. I'm adjusted.
Could you throw it right away, or did it take a little bit?
Hey,
I could throw a
Is
backhand
he
pretty
up and
easily, but like a forehand, I probably spent like 2 full days trying to figure out how to throw it flat.
Yeah.
Like so used to baseball,
Yeah.
like everything just came out at like a
Yeah.
90-degree angle.
Yeah.
And then I finally like figured it out, and like as soon as I figured out like how to throw it flat, I was like, "This is rad! Like I can throw this like 50-some yards."
Yeah.
But keeping it flat was like the weirdest.
Yeah. No, that's the weirdest. Like this is not a natural motion to like externally rotate that elbow.
Yeah, not like
Thanks, Mikey.
not remotely.
For reminding me
And he
to
was a good
talk to
thrower,
Mike.
so he like could give me some tips. He'd maybe do like the hold your arm behind
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
like elbow where you can't really move it. But
Apparently, Rowan does not like that feedback.
Yeah, he posted on that.
yeah, I'd be interested to hear his fleshed out logic for why
He's
he doesn't
also
like
throwing
it.
his flick with 3 fingers these days.
Yeah, 3 or 4
Which-
sounds
or
like.
4, well,
yeah. So
Jesus Christ.
yeah, I could see maybe why you wouldn't like that, but I think it's useful as a tool, right? Like you shouldn't teach people how to throw exclusively by doing that, but undoubtedly it's like a successful thing for people to understand. Like, oh, I need to like use my wrist
Isolate
and not
these components, yeah.
slide my arm the whole time.
Right.
So maybe not as a one like this is how you learn to throw a forehand, but
Yeah.
I think it would be wild to completely write that off as a useful tool.
Yeah.
All right, wing number 2. What are we eating here, Quinn?
We've got Banji Ranch. Am I saying that right? Banji?
I think so.
Yeah,
It's
Banji.
good.
Banji.
Benji?
Could be
Banji ranch.
Banji.
Banji.
And the flavor profile?
Just says hot,
Hot.
pepper sauce.
Yeah, I
Be
thought
the
hot would
queen
be-
of your kitchen.
Like that.
Well, at least they're physically cold now.
Yeah. Does anyone? Is this does it exponentially increase, or is it more of a linear
There's
scale?
10 of them. I bet it's linear.
You think so?
I
You
think there's a
10
big-
means it has to.
There's
be
I think there's a
jump at,
big
like-
jump at 8.
8.
Okay, so there's an exponential point in here.
But it's near the end. We don't
All
got to
right.
worry about that.
Just trying to balance hunger with safety, you know.
This one seems less spicy than the one before.
Famous last words.
And also
Honestly, agree.
kind of like some horseradish maybe. Like that kind of effect.
I like this one.
Getting Banji. This one's not spicy.
Sorry or you're welcome for the ASMR chewing. I don't know.
Yeah, Kins, Jesus.
No,
Thank God it's not
you're
in the
good.
mic.
You're way back there.
It's like
Oh,
breaking
okay.
bones.
Oh, wow.
Oh, good.
I mean everything.
Yeah, you don't have to eat the bones.
Actually, not spicy. That one isn't spicy though. Less spicy than the first one. Confirmed.
I tend to agree.
All right, Nat. So you've told us that you got 7th place at sectionals your first year with Darkside. Tell us a little bit about the trajectory of Darkside and UNC Ultimate in general. We have written down which people were the most instrumental in that transformation, and obviously I'm being friends with Mike D. I'm curious to hear anything you have to say about him.
Oh, anything I have to say about him?
Well, honestly, anything, yeah.
Yeah. I think I'd have to get him to
Approve.
to approve depending on what we were talking about. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess Mike was there a little bit before I was, and kind of started that. When I came in, the wheels were already turning in terms of trying to get us back onto good footing. And I think it had to be something like almost 40 players in the fall, like as our like fall team, just to like take as many people. And maybe it was almost like an extended tryout, but I remember we had a huge like group of people, which was fortunate for me because I think if like the dark side of today, for sure, I would not have made that team or come close to it. But taking such a big roster and kind of prioritizing like athletes or people we thought we could develop, not that I was making decisions for that, but people that they thought they could develop, was like a big focus point. So I think we cut at the end of that fall and like took a smaller roster, which, as you can see from our sectionals results, maybe didn't like help us in the performance side of things or the outcome side of things. But I think it did long term because we ended up with like almost 10 freshmen that year that got a ton of experience and got a lot better. And I think that was kind of our lifting off point. I mean, I remember Mike D at one of our last practices of the season, I think this was after sectionals, like pulled all the freshmen aside and basically told us like, you know, if you guys all stick with it, like we have the ability to win a national championship by your senior year, which I think all of us were like pumped at that. Looking back, like that seems psychotic for him to say, given like how bad we were, but it also seems like clairvoyant.
Do you think he really truly believed that when he said it in the moment?
That's a good question. That would be a great question for Mike. My hunch is based on how much scalding review of film he gave us. Probably not. I think maybe he had belief in himself as a coach to maybe get us there. But I can't imagine with our on-field product, he was like, these guys are for sure going to do it. So I like still couldn't throw a backhand more than like 15 yards at that point. And I only had one speed on a flick, like whether it was 70 yards or 20, it was like the same speed. So I don't think he was like, yeah, we have throwing prowess here that's going to really do something for us long term. So.
And what year was this?
That was 2011, spring 2011. Yeah, started in 2010, and that was the fall, and then spring of 2011. And then, yeah, we all came back. We didn't lose a ton of people. Mike D was there, and Mike D for sure, like to your question, Mikey is, I think, by far the biggest impact person in kind of the rise of success that UNC's had. And a lot of that came because like he introduced a lot of concepts and like got us thinking about the game in like an IQ way. And he also just put in a lot of work. Like we did a lot of things that I'm sure other top teams were doing, but certainly not every team. Like we spent hours doing film review and film study and game planning. In a way, it in some ways felt like our goal was just like, we'll just do more homework and work harder as much as possible. And I think that was a instrumental part of us being a better team and becoming a better team. And a lot of that was from Mike, not to mention like we didn't have him. We didn't exactly have like institutional knowledge that we could hand down in terms of like handler positioning or downfield positioning or how we should play defense and things like that. So he brought a lot of that from like club experience, and he's just got a really good mind for the game. And I think by far like is the architect in terms of like, we wouldn't have had that rise if he had not been there. He was our catalyst in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. Is he still involved at all levels?
I actually don't know that. I think not. He hasn't been involved with Darkside, I think, in a couple years. If I'm wrong on that, Mike, I apologize. You can get on me later. But he's still involved with obviously Flyers and Ring, and there's like a trickle-down effect there where even without necessarily him being involved, like his ideas and thoughts and a lot of the ways he did things are still involved. And a lot of that comes from just the fact that like he coached me and I coached other people, and then those people have coached other people. Yeah. So it's for sure changed and molded over the years, but a lot of it's still rooted in kind of like a lot of the things that he brought to us.
Yeah, that segues pretty well to the next question, actually. But first, what's next?
This is the scariest bottle, I think, out of all of them. It's Cadejo. And the flavor, Doesn't got much descriptors here.
That's usually a bad sign. I would wager.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Got a little green tint, greenish yellow.
Well, it's got to be hotter than the last one. Banshee Ranch was.
Here we go.
Oh boy.
Not too bad. Yeah.
Not too bad. That one's got something to it though.
Yeah, that for sure is a little bit beefier than the ranch.
So I'll keep chewing. I'll ask the question. And the segue as well, because you've mentored a ton of prominent players in today's game. MGH. We put question marks by, but we're assuming like Saul, ET, but also now guys in Colorado, including these two, Quins and Kin. Sorry,
Quins.
Quins and Kin. Quinn and Kins. Obviously we're about to head to college nationals this coming weekend, and so other players in that regard. To talk a little bit about mentoring players in general, why do you enjoy it so much? You're obviously really good at it, and
This makes me think of the hot ones where they're like zooming in on that, and he's like,
yeah, and I guess, we have written who was your first mentor. We'll just say Mike D, so you can kind of skip that unless you have more to expound on. But yeah, just talk a little bit about mentoring in general.
Yeah, I guess I'll clarify too. Like Eric Taylor actually was like Cincinnati YCC, and then only moved to the Triangle post college.
That's right.
Yeah, so he has his own like roots out that way, and I'm sure like a lot of like having Saul and that group of guys there at Carleton, there's probably a lot of cross. I don't know if cross contamination is the right word, but maybe cross pollination of ideas and stuff like that. But yeah, Saul for sure. I coached Matt and Saul and Henry and Dylan and Liam.
Liam, duh.
Yep, Liam as well. I actually coached them at Deep Freeze, which I think was my first time coaching high school. It was like
What's Deep Freeze?
Deep Freeze is like it's like a tournament. I think it's outside of Atlanta, or maybe it's Tennessee. I almost can't remember. I remember we took a bus, so I was like on the bus with all of them for like a 6 or 8 hour journey for the high school tournament. And they actually already had a coach at the time. He just couldn't make it to that tournament, so I like subbed in. But we ended up like beating Paideia. It was like I think the first time they beat Paideia, and then we lost to like Holy Family Catholic, which was like a youth powerhouse at the time. But I coached all those guys in high school, and then YCC, and then got to be teammates with them. But yeah, I mean, mentoring's cool. I mean, it's kind of a pay it forward thing in some ways. It's also just like an enjoyable thing. Not to mention, like, if you take I guess the long-term selfish view too, it helps me to have good players around me. And I got the good fortune of playing with all those guys. So it had a long-term benefit. I don't know if I anticipated playing with them, at least not maybe that quickly, which credit to them for being good enough to make that happen. And, but I think like Mike D was such a big impact, and I had so many other mentors, like Josh Mullen was another guy on ring that did similar stuff and had a lot of impact in like my development as a player. That one, coaching seemed like a really interesting way for me to like learn more about the game, but also then became like a really cool thing. I think especially at that time in the sport where it was like Mike was doing a lot of cool stuff, and YCC in middle school and high school kind of gave me a platform to experiment, especially middle school and high school. You can kind of experiment with no downsides. If you like get it wrong, or you like try out a new strategy and it's bad, you're just like, cool, it was bad. We just won't do that again. But we probably wouldn't have completed 5 or 6 passes in a row anyway, regardless of the strategy. So we can kind of sample size stuff and play with it. But I do think it's super important, and I think coaching makes you a better player. And I think that's true for most of the people I know. Like Matt and Saul coached a bunch, and those dudes are super high IQ players. And I think a lot of that comes because if you have to coach, you have to figure out like super simple ways to explain complex topics and have to teach them. And you also have to have enough depth and breadth of understanding that you can actually explain things for like why something is actually being done.
Yeah, I still struggle with that, and I coach. I've been coaching for I don't know 13 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the hardest part of coaching is like trying to figure out how to explain things simply, but also explain the right things and then not get carried away with it. And also knowing what the right things are to explain, which is why I'll always advocate for like middle school coaching, because
Yeah, totally.
no one knows whether they're the right things or not. You've got no, I guess downside is you got no feedback loop on whether they're the right things until you see people like listen to you and be like, oh, I should explain that differently. They got an entirely different concept than what I was trying to teach. But there's also not a huge downside to it. So
talk a little bit about the differences between coaching in UNC in North Carolina and coaching out here.
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, I think Liam actually, when he was on you guys' podcast, hit on this to some extent too. Like the coaches definitely like have a big impact, and I think that impact has changed a lot since I started college. Like when I started college, Mike was the coach, and it was like it was run like any other sports team you've ever been on, where like the captains and the players aren't really telling you what to do. Like the coaches, it's coming from the top, and that's kind of how you're organized. And I think for that time period, it kind of needed to be that way because we didn't, again, have a lot of institutional knowledge, so we relied on him a bunch. But over the years, that's kind of changed a bunch, where now the players do most of it. Even my last couple of years, it was like the captains were planning almost every practice and then getting feedback from the coaches. And I think that's one of the big differences, depending on, I guess, what team you play for too. But just like UNC to Mama Bird, like the coaches have a lot more, I guess, responsibility for practice planning and leading things. Whereas at UNC, if the coach shows up, great, but things are going to roll smoothly regardless. And there's already a plan in place. And I think there's just more structure built out in terms of what the fall season looks like and like what you teach in the fall season. So it feels like there's a more foundational curriculum that you then build off of, where I think out here it feels like that's starting to develop. But
right. Yeah, I think, after we talked to Liam and you and I talked about that more after that interview, I feel like we've been sort of just trying to experiment with that a little bit more. Just knowing that like none of us are there consistently. You are probably the most consistent right now, and Bob was a few weeks ago or couple months ago. But like it could be every other week for me.
I mean, like the fact that the players coach the team in a way is so crazy to me. I was captain on Bird for 3 years, and I was never able. I would never been able to do that. I was never prepared to do that.
Maybe that's why everybody was afraid of you.
Maybe
because we didn't let you talk.
I still don't know though.
I wasn't allowed to input, even though I had the thoughts.
Arguably for good reason, though, right? Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think like it also just builds such a culture of feedback. And I know Liam talked about this too, but like a feedback, like if your teammates and captains are the ones teaching drills, then you get an impression that like other players on the team know a lot, and it creates this loop of like, cool, I can trust things that they tell me, rather than kind of environment of, well, if it's not coming from the coach, like I don't necessarily need to listen to it or trust it. And I think that works both ways too, in terms of, it makes you more welcome as a younger player, even if you're not a captain, want to give feedback to other people on things you do know and do see. And I mean, one thing we used to talk about like on Triforce as like a coaching staff and all that is like, if we just rely on the coaches to give feedback, we have 3 coaches. Even if we give like 10 points of feedback at every practice, that's 30 points of feedback. If we have 26 dudes on the team plus 3 coaches, like even if they only give 1 piece of feedback and we only give 1, we've like matched the same amount. So the coaches can do the same amount, right? But players can add on. We're almost doubling our feedback. And if you add that over a course of a practice in a week and a season, like that's an exponential growth in like how many points of information and like feedback points you've talked about, and how much better your team's gotten. Like 1,200 feedback points is a lot better than 300. for a game that's so situational.
With Mama Bird right now, I think we all really trust Seth and Danny and Buck. Buck's an amazing just leader vocally too, and Cal too, who's sort of an unofficial captain still, and they just have a better pulse on the team than the rest of us. I mean, especially me, because I'm really not present that often. And on Sunday, it was cool to see Buck leading huddles. He does a great job with it, and he's. I really feel like both Buck and Seth should be coaches in the future. Like this summer, they should do it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like. I know Ken's coach. Like, have you coached at all, Quinn?
No, it's not really something I'm passionate about, to be honest. But you never know.
But didn't in college either.
No, not really.
Yeah, I mean, I think for sure they should, like, if they want to be good captains and like be able to lead practices. But I think that's true for probably every college player. Like, I feel like I was talking to somebody about this. Maybe it was one of you, like, not too long ago. But like, I started coaching the same semester that I tried out for Darkside.
Yeah, you were talking.
Was that you?
With our 3 a.m. night after
that's right.
After that second road game,
which is like as blind leading the blind as you could possibly be. And what I was telling Mikey is like I'd be like, this is a forced flick, and they'd be like, why would we do that? And I would tell them, we'll talk about that tomorrow. And the part I wouldn't tell them is that I needed to go ask Mike D why we forced flick versus something else, because the middle school person asked me, and I don't know the answer. But it's like I learned a lot, because I was like, wow, these kids ask a lot of really good questions that I haven't, as a college-age kid, haven't thought of apparently to ask at my own practice. But I like all that adds up and it helps. And I think for so much of that, it's a confidence thing and just knowing like you have the space to do it, and you also like have the qualifications to do it, and you don't need to rely on other people. And I think giving space for people to do that is something that UNC does really well and lets the players lead drills. And I think you just have to start somewhere, because I think a lot more people are capable of doing it at a high level. They just have to sample with it, and it's not going to be perfect the first time.
Kins, are you hoping to coach more? What's your intent?
Yeah, I like coaching. I think it's really good practice. I'm not sure, thinking about like places where to coach. Like middle school is fun, but the places that I'm doing middle school right now, it's not even like, I mean, it's coaching, but it's not like you're coaching a team. You're like developing kids on how to throw.
Because you're doing clinics.
No, but even like when I go to like Centennial Middle School in Boulder, it's like you're not like, it's not a team that's competing. Like I haven't coached a team really that's competing. Like I went to a couple of Fairview practices. I would definitely like to be a coach of a team. I just have to find a team in need of like assistance. Yeah, because Akane does a good job there. And it's hard it's hard to like find a role, sometimes like on a team that already has like a coach. Like you just give feedback to like the players, and that's fun. But I would enjoy like figuring out the schemes that like a team is going to run, and like trying to think like, how are we going to use the players the best, and like what's going to work best in this division that we're playing in, and like that kind of stuff. So yeah, I definitely would like to do it more. I think it's fun, because it's also good not to do it as a player, because like when I talk to all you guys about like our teams, it's really easy to get caught up in like, okay, well maybe we should do this, this, and this, and you have to check yourself and like, wait, but no, I also have to worry about like myself doing all these things that are player oriented. So yeah, but I would like to coach more.
Good to hear. I think you could be good at it.
I think so too. It takes practice. It takes practice.
I think you're probably already good at it. You could probably just be better at it for sure. But that's true for all of us doing anything. I do think that's probably another, like to Kins's point, another underrated part about what the triangle does so well. Is like, in Tristan Green, who played at Darkside kind of with me, is responsible for a lot of that, but like and a lot of other people too, but like the middle school and high school community is built out so well. Like almost so many high schools and middle schools have teams that like compete in a league. So it's like you don't have a shortage of places to go coach. If anything, there's a shortage of coaches for all the places that have teams. So you're still doing a lot of things Ken's talked about in terms of teaching people how to throw and like basic mechanics, but you are doing it in a team structure. And there is like if you want to coach, you have the option and you won't have any trouble finding a place to do it.
All right, we're only in 3 wings in, and we've talked a lot. So where are they
They're
gonna?
getting cold, man. I want to like heat
They
them
are.
up. Let's keep
I think we
going
got
for a
plenty of heat coming.
Yeah, we got plenty. All right, we're up.
I made microwave sesh at one point.
Number 4. Was it Los
So
Calientes?
this is also a Hot Ones created hot sauce, and it's Los Calientes Verde.
The green heat.
The green heat.
Suspect amount of hot sauce on my wing, I will say. Just don't know if I'm really getting the full flavor profile of these.
I think it's just caked on.
Give him a little more.
Ooh. Okay.
Ooh, spicy. Comes on a little sweet at first, and then it hits you.
Yeah, you also had a heavy dollop there. Quinn dosed you up for sure.
There's definitely something sweet at the beginning, maybe like some mango or some fruit, and then
I think that's the Verde. Mm-hmm. And then the Caliente.
and then the caliente hits.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think I could have done more sauce on that one.
Yeah, maybe. Do we need a little extra?
Here,
On that one?
Dose me a little.
All
I'll
right.
take
I will say I actually really like that one.
That is a good one.
I like how it's got some
easy dose.
some different levels. I will say I'm somewhat prepared. My roommate has been experimenting making hot sauces. He's been making like some
I don't know which one.
some habanero hot sauces in jars and going through the whole process, and those things come out spicy.
So earlier when you said you hadn't prepared at all, you were lying.
Well, Mikey asked me today.
liar.
He asked me today if I prepared. Didn't eat any of it.
Today,
But just
individually.
in recent history, I've been eating some spicy hot sauces. I'm ready to go. That's why I'm raw dogging it. I feel good. I'm trying not to lick the lips. I realized, I think licking lips is bad.
Fire.
This one's stuck in my teeth.
Yeah. Don't touch your eyes.
Also,
Careful.
let
on
us
the eyes.
know. Comment like if you want ASMR for the next video.
Like, comment, subscribe.
And like, don't be afraid of that. I know I know there's some people out there that want to hear people chill on stuff. Which when you say is super weird, right? Like, you think those people at the restaurant are like?
Oh,
Like,
actually,
leading into
I
the
do.
person
I
next
do
to
have
him?
a funny story.
Yeah, do it.
I'll keep it short, but I went on a date last week at Finn's Manor, a bar in Denver, and
I love that place.
unbeknownst to us, unexpectedly, there was a kink meetup.
At the bar?
Yeah, and
For
everybody,
people with different kind of kinks or a specific kink?
any kind of kink. Just, I mean, sexual.
General
Sexual.
kink. Well,
How does one define kink then? Just like it has to be weird, or
how deep did you ask?
Well,
questions about.
like what if
So-
you just
Did you
like
join?
a certain like?
Well,
What if you just like missionary a lot? Is that a kink? Or like
all right, let me just
I
finish the
would
story.
consider
then.
it. Yeah, I would.
So,
I guess it's a fetish. Fetish.
well, we were just everybody was wearing name tags, and we were curious. So we,
Did they have their kinks on their name tags, or was it?
well,
Hi, my
okay,
name-
we'll kind of get into
Hi,
it.
my name's Justin, and I love sucking on toes.
So we were just like sitting next to each other, talking for a couple hours, whatever, and eventually, someone does approach us. Super. Flamboyant is a proper word. Like, he described himself as flamboyant, super energetic, very welcoming too. And he was like, "You two young hot people are just sitting over here hogging each other. Like, come join the party." And we had to sort of explain that we weren't there for the kink session.
So it's just like to meet other people with kinks, get to know 'em. Maybe you find like a kink match.
So they call it a vanilla session, and it's like there are different meetups where you have an orgy or whatever, like,
Yeah.
and
But you probably can't do it Finn's Manor, I assume.
not at Finn's Manor.
Not when it's open.
So his name was Cookie. I have his real name actually, and he was so he was new to the community. He said he had never felt. He said he had never felt jealousy in his life, but that you have to expect it. Apparently, like, even people were telling him this is going way off the rails, but
No, I like this way more.
I thought Mikey was going to dox him for a second.
so he's only been in the community since the beginning of this year, and they're like, just expect to be jealous. But
Who?
like, because like you share partners basically.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
so like it's just inevitable
missed
that
that
you
part,
will.
I missed that part a little. Yeah.
Like
But-
the orgy didn't give it.
I didn't realize this group went off to other places and had orgies. Because I was wondering like how you.
span, man.
I don't
So that's
know
not
if he gets the
that's not the
whole-
vanilla part. That's like
Yeah. That's it, yeah.
they call them play parties if you're curious.
When you have the orgy,
Yeah.
but you have to go to these vanilla first.
Hard to know.
I don't know if you have to.
Probably
He's
not if
curious.
you
He
know.
You probably just can't show up to the orgy, though.
So
Well, one way to find out.
No way you can just show up to the orgy.
he introduced us to like a girlfriend and a boyfriend that were there, and also a friend whose name was Fisty.
Come on, that's so good. So we know what his kink is.
You can guess.
Yeah. What's Cookie's kink? Or is that private? Is it like private? You
No,
can't tell.
he didn't tell us why his name was Cookie, but
Oh, is your
I
nickname
think-
related to your kink?
I don't think it has to be.
'Cause
I
if
think
so,
they just
that
call
makes
him,
my mind
they just call him Cookie.
Raise.
But he was like so friendly, and immediately asked to like exchange information, and
Yeah.
I was like, well, I'm not. I feel
Networking.
like I just gave him my phone number.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is there like a
Did he text you?
Facebook
It would have
group?
been.
Yeah,
rude
I think
not to.
so.
Because I was wondering, like, I was listening to the Lex podcast that he had with that woman who does the sex work on Twitter and stuff, and she was talking about it. I was just wondering, like, how you get.
Well, so I could text. I could
Googled it
text
for
Cookie
hours.
back. He texted me. He said this is his real name.
I was
which
just
won't-
super interested in it. Like, no one ever talks about it. You know,
then
it's like a whole society.
So he says, "This is Cookie. I'll invite you to cool things." So
Whoa.
In his text,
yeah, I've not texted him back, but
nice.
we'll see. We'll see.
How'd the day go?
Day was great, honestly. I haven't seen her since yet, but it was just last
She
week.
hasn't talked to me.
Honestly, such a fun topic.
Yeah, and what an added level of excitement on a date too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was she into it? Like, was she excited by the kink
Careful
party?
around the eyes.
Was she excited about the kink party? I want the full experience. I want hot sauce in my eyeballs, straight to the fucking dome.
I don't know her well enough yet, but I think we were both just intrigued by the openness of the people we were talking to.
Did it make you guys talk about like your kinks or no?
Not
Really good.
no. I don't. No, I would say no.
It didn't like spur any comment.
No, but it was a good conversation. Like we talked about a lot.
I feel like it would make for a good date, honestly, because it
Yeah, I
just
thought
gives you
it
something
was-
to talk
yeah.
about.
Like attending one would make for a good date.
Both, honestly. Probably, it depends on the people. It's just like if you get jealous.
I feel like that was a worthy time of a
I
wing,
agree.
so we will move
we'll do the
on
next
to wing 5.
I just want to share some information that I learned on the sex podcast then, because did anyone ever realize how an orgy worked? Like, I thought it was just all like one group having sex, but apparently, like I heard on the sex podcast, you make like little factions in the room. So it's like you break off like 3 people to a corner, like 2 people another corner.
I'm sure there are different types. From what they were describing, where they go for this specific play party, they actually have different floors and
Yeah.
like there's like different kinks.
Different levels.
Right.
And apparently, I like this a lot. Well,
The 3rd floor.
apparently you have to ask for consent to do anything. Like even if I wanted to like touch you on the knee or like touch your shoe, it's like so like
That makes a ton of sense in that setting.
I wonder if there's a kink room where you don't ask for consent.
That's
I'm just
that would be very kinky.
Ceiling.
Okay, what are we at here?
We've got. This is 5?
It is 5.
5.
5. It's from India. It is the ghost pepper hot sauce.
Wow.
Ghost peppers, savory Indian spices, and tangy tomato.
I feel like
sounds
maybe
good.
you said 8 was expenential or was 5 exponential?
Hey, well, before we chew this, will you close that? I'm hearing the dog barking in the headphones.
I feel like it's a warning.
Don't eat
This one's a
that
little drier heat. Like it.
good. Do we want a little more? Does anybody need a little more?
Mine's good.
Mine's
It's a little. Ooh, this is the first one that I'm like, yeah, it's
Sorry,
spicy.
Like it's on high. Like
Yeah, I'm like this. This one's spicy. Like this one, I'm starting to feel like it's spicy.
I can taste the Indian spices.
Yeah, agreed. Oh wow, this one is spicy. I don't think I can eat the whole one.
It actually didn't. I actually didn't think it was spicy until I swallowed it.
Back of the throat.
Yeah.
Don't get it back there.
I didn't mean to. And part of me is weirdly tempted to finish it.
Whoa.
But the other part of me thinks it's a really bad idea.
Oh, finish it. Finish it. No.
This is getting me.
Yeah, that one's hot.
I wonder if there's a hot sauce kink.
I think we're doing it.
Yeah,
Right?
that's it, man. We have it.
Right after this, we're taking our clothes out.
But asking
bathing.
I have thought a couple times after one of these that I should have wore like a lighter weight shirt. Like, I feel like
After
I'm
the
gonna
spicy stuff?
Yeah, I feel like
That
I'm
one's hot.
I'm gonna start sweating here shortly.
You can take your shirt off.
Okay.
Fans
perfect.
might like that.
Yeah, I'm sure they would.
Sometimes I wish this was in front of a live audience. I'd be like, fans, you want not to take your shirt off? Stan! You want not to take your shirt off? Yeah!
Fist pumping in the
Absolute
background.
Nightmare. My absolute nightmare. Worse than the wings, honestly.
We just dump bare-chested with hot sauce. We just flinging hot sauce on. Anyway.
All right, question. From what we understand, you had next to no experience on skis before moving out here. Now you work for Powder 7, as we discussed.
Sounds like a news channel.
It's a ski
Welcome
shop.
back to Powder 7.
It's a ski shop in Golden, Colorado, for people that don't know.
Yeah, so how did that come to be? And like, were you planning to get super into skiing when you started working there?
Yeah, like when I originally moved out here, I knew like skiing was something. That is like a pretty good burn. The whole wing was.
Zinger.
I felt good about it right until like 10 seconds ago. When I moved out here to start, I knew like skiing was something I wanted to get into, like, and just in general, like. Wow, this does make it harder, huh?
I'm glad you're talking.
Wow, I can't imagine what 8 is gonna feel like, huh?
Stay in the moment.
I think skins always bring me back. I knew when I left North Carolina, most of what I'd done in North Carolina in my free time was obviously like ultimate. Like that's most of what I spent my time doing, which was rad. But I also knew once I moved out here to Colorado, I wanted to get a chance to experience kind of all the things that Colorado has to offer, from mountain biking to climbing and skiing. So I knew skiing was one of the main things. I'd done it a couple times growing up, so I knew I liked it, at least from my experience on snow in North Carolina. I didn't really have any idea, like I'd never been out west and been to a ski resort, so I didn't really have an idea of like the scale comparison, which was like kind of mind-blowing the first time I came out here. But I did know that it was for sure something I wanted to get into, and I have I don't know if it's a habit or a tendency that when I get into stuff, I like really get into stuff until I really figure it out. So I applied to work at Powder 7, like knowing full well that if I got the job, I was definitely going to spend a lot of time skiing, and then spent pretty much every day I had off that entire winter skiing and getting after it.
Kind of sounds like you're a 3.
Yeah, it does, right?
Yeah, it does.
Be careful. You don't want to turn this into an
Oh,
Enneagram,
we'll get there. We'll get
Enneagram
there.
podcast.
We'll get there.
Oh,
It's coming,
okay.
it's coming.
That's a
Trouble.
sneak peek to one of our upcoming podcasts.
preview.
Yeah.
No, maybe you can teach me how to ski.
Yeah, I could for sure try. I don't know if I could teach you how to ski technically well, but I could teach you how to survive the slopes. That's kind of been my like mantra and how I attack the mountain. It's survive the slopes.
Don't forget it. Don't forget about the mic.
Yeah, don't forget about that. What do you think would be harder, coaching me in skiing or coaching me in ultimate?
Wow. Coaching you in ultimate for sure. Yeah, I don't have anything on the line in skiing, so I don't have to get upset when you mess up or ignore us. And I did say us intentionally.
Ignore us?
Ignore us.
Ignore, like,
don't listen to us.
When do I?
as a group.
Is that referring to something?
Just general everyday situations.
Practice, games,
Like wings
film.
prep.
Wing prep.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything, dude.
This is new information being brought to my attention.
Yeah, I think coaching you in skiing would be like there'd be comedic relief. There's not as much of that on the ultimate field.
Like I'm not funny.
True. Who's the best skier you've skied with?
The best
And the best skier on Bravo if they're not the same.
Oh,
Bravo / Summit.
yeah. I mean, Sandy's got to be pretty high up there. Sandy's probably the raddest skier to
Yeah.
watch. One of the guys that works at the shop, one of my good friends, Matt, is probably in contention as well for best skier. They ski really differently. Like Maddie's more like just like a pinball, just like blasting around the mountain, and Sandy's like way more big mountain freestyle.
Is that how Matty Jackson is too as well?
He's
Right,
like,
that's
he's
pretty, yeah.
he's like more like Sandy,
like throwing
but
backflips
not
and stuff.
Rad.
not as
Rad.
maybe not as revved up to 100. But Sandy's probably the most impressive. Like when I ski with him,
Yeah.
I'm like, wow,
Shit.
that's what that looks like. That's cool.
Yeah. And
I
for
wonder
people
if
that
I
don't
look
know,
like that.
Sandy's like 6'5", 6'6", and like
Yeah, 6'6".
it's hard to throw backflips and shit like that when you're that tall.
He does it off like small features where I'm like, I don't even know if you have enough ground clearance to jump it normally.
He did break his thumb and get a concussion last year doing
Well.
skiing, so
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Comes with
Though,
the
yeah.
territory.
I think he's probably the best I've skied with,
yeah.
unless I'm missing someone that I can't think of.
That was the answer I expected.
He's the obvious pick.
Yeah.
All right. We are going to talk about the Enneagram a little bit, but
What we gotta do?
wing
Number
6.
Wing 6, like a 5 wing 6 or like a 7 wing 6.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
All right.
Little Enneagram play there.
We got Mayhem.
That's why it's over my head.
Mushroom Mayhem. It's got 3 X's in hot on it. This is the coolest logo so far. Accidentally healthy, intentionally delicious.
Accidentally healthy.
All right. Is it accidentally spicy as well?
On purpose.
Does anybody need extra? Are we good?
Mine
Oh,
looks
yeah.
sufficiently
No, yours
doused.
looks good.
Man. Mine looks like it has the heaviest dosage yet.
Nothing yet?
This one's not really hit me. Like that other one hit a little harder.
You want some more?
Yeah, give me a little more.
All right, cool.
Just on the end there.
I think Mikey found it spicy.
I think it's coming, man.
I find,
Did I miss?
I find it spicy.
I think I missed it. Yeah, just put a little on there and I'll suck it up.
Yeah, I can. I can tell.
Don't do all that. Okay.
I don't think that this one's crazy spicy, but I think it's hot for sure.
It's hot.
Weird. I'm actually not trying to be a hardo. I
Really?
For some reason this one, maybe it's just my anatomy. Like it's
What are
not-
the receptors?
The last one seemed a lot harder. A little
Your
harder.
anatomy.
I do feel like the other one,
My DNA.
the other one's still lingering. So,
Yeah, I think the other one might be.
but like as I talk, I can feel it.
Speaking of lingering, I kind of want to linger on the me ignoring everyone statement. That
We can talk about that.
We could talk
I would
about
love to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because now I feel like
Hang on.
maybe I'm
actually-
not. Maybe I'm not ignoring. Maybe I'm just unaware of what's going on.
I actually do have like a.
A good example.
Going back to what Nat was saying, of like the feedback loop for teammates and for captains, coaches, everything like that, is from what I've experienced in Colorado is like not the best. A lot of like, at least from maybe me giving feedback to people, it's a lot of like, oh, I'll have to think about that, or it's, well, I don't know, or like, Kins, we get in yelling matches frequently.
No, we don't. That
It's
exaggerates
decreased.
it.
It's decreased over the years. But the feedback loop is not as open.
What are you talking? It was like the first practice.
Yeah,
Right, but that's the first time
first
Quinn and I have
practice-
got upset at each other in a long time.
and it was the first practice you played this season.
This season.
yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's
And-
starting.
Yeah, it's building.
I should
so-
have committed to the full wing. Go ahead, Quinn.
Yeah, I just going back to what Nat said, I do think that Colorado could benefit from a more open feedback loop at the college and at the club and even AUDL level.
Kins, can I give you some feedback right now?
Yes. I'm going to yell at you.
To me, for you, it's like, it's an emergency right away, like.
Yeah. I think that's a Philly thing.
Valid.
I think that's a Philly thing.
It's a Philly thing too, though.
It's a me, but
From
being
Philly,
from Philly.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of it. Like,
No, I feel that.
Philly, yeah.
I resonate with that. Yeah.
Also, since you haven't been active practicing and everything and playing, I think a lot of the things you say are probably correct. But people are probably have had the discussion already. And they may not.
You're just a step behind, I guess.
They may not have, but I guess, one of your goals is to give less feedback.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you have to do that. I think the delivery probably would change a lot in how quickly and well it's received, and like how quick, because when I'm trying to bring Olympus in or the O-line in, I have to wait 30 seconds for you and for someone else to wrap it up, and then like the pull has gone up, and then something, and it's a down chain effect, because then maybe Jay or someone else is like, I want to go support the D-line, and then I get angry, and it's sort of a snowball effect. And this is not something that's unique to you, Kins, by any means, but since we're talking about you specifically, that's one thing that I see. And in terms of you like ignoring things, I don't know if that's true, but I think I'm a hard person to hear, and a hard person, like if there's a lot going on, my voice does not cut through other people's. So, you may just not hear what I have to say at all. And so, when we were prepping to make this small feast, I'm like, please, kids, just like give me a moment. You know what I mean?
Moment to focus.
Yeah.
On the wings.
Yeah. Yeah. And you like to focus on a lot of things at once.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear Nuts' take on this.
Not even did tell me, on the delivery at the game the other day that was mentioned. I noticed even today talking to DK, I use a lot of negative adjectives. Oh, yeah. Like I think what you're saying with the warning thing, like phrasing things as an opportunity to get better and not as a emergency as it's bad.
Yeah.
Something I have to work on.
Compliment sandwich. We should work on that.
I don't like compliment sandwich. I'm out on compliment sandwich.
There you go.
Yeah. I have mixed feelings on compliment sandwich, but
of some variation of it.
Yeah. I think it's, to Kins's point, and Mikey, I think, said it eloquently, is like, it comes across as everything's an emergency and it has to be dealt with immediately, and there's all these like fires to put out, rather than like, what can we do right now to like improve this a little bit, and that it's focused on like us as a group improving, rather than like we need to do this thing. This has to be fixed. It's like there has to be some acceptance of errors are going to be natural, and some acceptance that like we are going to mess things up, and here's our strategy for trying to do it less. Rather than this like it's an emergency, and there's also some amount of like we need to fix this right now forever. Rather than like we need to take a step in the right direction. Yeah, no, that actually is really good, because I think that describes it very well, because from hearing it from your guys' perspective describes how I'm feeling in my own head very well, because I'm thinking of all of these things that I want to address now, but obviously that's not the best path forward when you're looking to like get better as a unit.
Right.
And that's why like storing the thoughts for like maybe a later time or maybe not a later time, but either one is a good go. But yeah, out on compliment sandwich. Unless it's maybe like different periods. Like I could see it from a good perspective, like one practice I give you a compliment, the next practice I give you feedback, the next practice I give you a compliment. I think the compliment critique compliment style like distracts from the critique, like takes away from the critique.
So here's my thoughts. Actually, I have a quick side stories. When I coached Heist in 2013, they said I was known for a compliment open face sandwich. So
so just a compliment.
Yeah. Well, then a negative.
Oh, right.
But they didn't follow it. Yeah.
But when actually, Kins, your chord, I think when brushes on. No, when it brushes on your pants, kind of like I can hear it clicking.
Good feedback. Asshole.
But when Liam was on, he mentioned like just like throw compliments all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
So you could just rip into somebody when it's time to do that.
Like even today, you said a little more appreciation. I do focus on more negative things. It is the Philly sports fan in me.
Yeah.
What Liam said, he's like I try to give 5 good pieces of feedback for every like 1 or 2 are bad, and he also said something that resonated with me. He gives bad feedback because he cares about the team, he cares about you, and he cares about how you are performing, and that can touch on that a little bit too, or maybe expand on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the positive or negative way of phrasing it that we used to always say is like we challenge the people we care about are the opposite. I forget who corrected me eventually and made it more simple by saying we challenge the people we care about, but I used to always say we don't challenge the people we don't care about, which is maybe a little more confusing, but the same message. But I think the key part of that is like people have to know
that you care.
Yeah, that you care.
Yeah.
And if you only come with negative critiques, it's sometimes harder to know that. So I think the positive stuff allows you to establish a connection of, hey, like we're trying to do this thing and I care about you improving as a player. And it's also like building off-field relationships and all that stuff adds into it as well. But I think there's a big difference in how it feels when you present something as like, here's some feedback because I care about you improving and like I want you to be the best player you can be, versus like I need you to fix this so we can play better as a team, right? Or I need you to quit making this mistake, because I do think that matters, and the positive compliments I think are hugely beneficial for that. I don't know how I feel about the compliment sandwich. I've mixed reviews on it, and I think there's a lot of nuance to whether it's appropriate to apply or not. But I think overall, like, you have to have positive and negative because you have to contextualize stuff, and people need reinforcement on like, hey, that was the right thing. Keep doing that, as well as correction of like that we don't want you to do, and we actually want you to fine tune it this way and change it in this method. And if you don't have both, then like you're missing out on half the feedback.
Right. Because it's not just one absolute negative or positive.
Well, yeah, and telling people what not to do is not helpful. It doesn't give them any guide or direction. It just eliminates one of a million options of what you could be doing.
Yeah.
I think that's like one of my pet peeves in coaching is like people saying like, stop doing this without providing insight about what the solution is. Why, for sure, but like, what should I do instead, right? Like, knowing not to do something doesn't leave me any more informed about what I should be doing.
Right, you're still just as lost.
Just as lost. I'll just pick a new thing to be lost on.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll coincidentally get it right, but relying on coincidence is probably not a great way to like develop a player or team.
Yeah.
Why do we force flick?
That's still actually never got the question answered.
Tomorrow.
So
We'll text Mike D and find out.
Let's jump into the Enneagram and then we'll do the next one.
Yeah, I'll actually tie in with the Enneagram because you mentioned telling somebody what not to do without providing a solution, and maybe this doesn't tie well into Enneagram, but I think it does because this is me who doesn't know anything about the Enneagram. But like in relationships, the stereotype. Maybe I shouldn't talk in stereotypes, but I am. Like for men, I'm actually not this way, but men apparently. Sorry,
you do this.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You're saying something.
I want that
there's been 3 tangents before you finally got. Like you're gonna say, "How am I supposed to follow you?"
You're
3
right.
tangents. Okay.
Yeah, we
I
are
want
like
that 30 seconds clipped. I think that's
you
so
and
good.
I are just like the worst match ever because you need simplicity and I cannot provide.
How is it me that? How am I the only person that needs simplicity?
No, you're right. You're right.
Other people hate simplicity. Are like
This is what I struggle with in communication. But all right, to finish the thought.
But only with kids. Other people are like, yes, this is my style of communication.
More tangents.
More tangents.
Please.
I follow along better than you do.
Everyone else is more of a contextual learner, so having more complexity is helpful for them.
Right.
You have to stage yours and scaffold it out.
Yeah.
Hopefully-
Okay, here we go. Back
hopefully
to
the podcast will help
Enneagram point.
Okay. Some people like to when they like have a problem or venting, they just want to be heard and like have the moment to vent and express themselves, and other people want to hear a solution. I wonder, like, do any of you, maybe any of you, has this come up in your relationships? And I will try to tie it with the Enneagram. And we have written down, like, our first road trip this year. We talked a lot about the Enneagram in the van. And can you give us your 101 description of it, and why you find it useful or interesting? And if you want to label us, you can.
And quick plug, if you don't know what Enneagram is, you can go like take a test, which is like kind of a meh way to do it. Or there's like some books you can read that are more in depth. But if you're interested, go look it up, take the test, kind of do some research.
And it's basically like a simple version. It's like a personality.
I would say it's not simple, but it is a personality.
I meant in like a simple way to explain it to people. It's like a personality.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like it's like 1 through 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the simplest way to explain it. It's just a personality test is probably the wrong word, but personality guide. Yeah. Like Myers-Briggs would be like a comparable. I almost think of Enneagram as like more of would be like a spiritual version of Myers-Briggs, I guess. And it's focused more on like psychology from like the ego perspective and kind of what drives you from core fear and core motivation. But to Kin's point, at its simplest, it's like a personality guideline and tries to give you some ideas about like why you do the things you do and what might be driving you and be the motivators, both on the positive and negative side. It's, to Quinn's point, it's like a 1 through 9. You have 9 different types, and it's, without getting too nuanced, like gives you the opportunity to almost like a major and a minor. You like primarily identify as one of those 9 numbers, and then tend to work also quite a bit like a minor in school, like through the number adjacent to it. So like you might be a 5, but you also use some of a 6 or some of a 4. And you have kind of holistically a little bit of all of them. You just tend to orient through one.
And like something important too about it is you're the only one that can truly assign yourself a number, kind of, because you're the only one that knows your motivations for your actions. Other people,
it's like self-aware though. You have to be pretty self-aware to do that. You can't be like lying to yourself about.
Well, I think that's the whole point. Like that's probably the biggest point of the Enneagram is try to increase self-awareness. Exactly. Like I'd almost treat it more like a self-awareness tool through the lens of being a personality guideline. More so than just like a personality test like Myers-Briggs that tells you your strength. I think the goal of what the Enneagram is trying to like provide is giving you ample self-awareness so you can have more like self-monitoring and kind of know why you're doing the things you're doing, like maybe why you treat everything as an emergency, right? Like, or maybe.
Is there a chapter on growing up listening to Philly sports talk radio?
I think in one of the newer versions or volumes, I think there's one specifically about that.
If you guys listen to one section of Philly sports talk radio, you would completely understand why.
I think we understand.
Yeah, I think.
But it would give you it would shed some light.
Well, maybe I'll do that on my way home, and
it's really fun to listen to.
But yeah, that's the gist of what it is. And I think has everyone here done it?
I have not.
I've had people tell me what my number is, but I've not taken the test or like read that much of the book.
I'm not like an expert. I know like the more common ones like 3s and 9s and 8s I'm more familiar with, but like some of the weirder ones like that Mike is probably probably Smith over there too. I'm not as clear. I'm not as clear on those, but
I don't think weirder is the right adjective.
Different,
less common,
just less
different,
less known in our circle, maybe.
Yeah. Right, that's fair. That's good.
And to kind of put it into context too, like I would say, not can correct me, but like in sports, a lot of people are going to be 3s.
Yeah, I'd probably challenge and correct you on that.
You think?
100%.
All right.
I think it's Who knows? But I'd argue it's probably a pretty equal distribution. Like I generally haven't been on a team with very many other 3s.
You don't think me, you, and Kins are all 3s?
I don't think I'm a 3, man. I remember
might be
reading.
guys,
It was 8. It was 8 or a 7.
Give us
It was one of those higher numbers.
explanation on the 3, quick.
Yeah, the type 3, and they have numbers, and then they all have like name equivalents. But the 3 is the achiever, so they are like a success oriented or an achievement oriented type, which can look like a lot of different things depending on what you consider achievement or success to be. Like obviously that's different for different people. For some people that might be like financial success because maybe the people they hang around or the culture they're in or their family prizes that. And for some people it might be, it might be the opposite. It might be like spiritual success if they're raised in a really religious family. But overall, it's very like achievement focused. So 3s kind of focus on trying to get very good at things because that's how they identify value.
You don't think like we got the Nuggets Lakers on in the background. You don't think like most of those dudes are 3s?
I think for sure not.
Dude, really?
Because like you're not isolated to only being achievement oriented or wanting to achieve things or be great at things by being a 3. Like all other types also want to do that. Just how you should, like to your point where you're the only one that knows, like you're going to have to do the research and read about it and figure out which one applies to you, because you could have 5 to 10 different like identical people in terms of what they're doing outwardly, but they could all be doing it for different reasons.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think you think I'm a 3 because you only are thinking of mainly my ultimate side.
Fair enough.
But and that's the side I've always like achieved the most in and wanted to achieve the most in. But then in like other parts of life, it's not the same as like who I am in ultimate.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
So you think Kins is an 8?
It could 8 or 7.
I remember reading one of the chapters. I think it was an
believe
8, and it was like
I believe that.
it wasn't like spot on, but obviously there was a lot that I was like, oh yeah, if that hits.
Quick description of an 8.
8's I think it's called the Challenger. There's like, depending on which version of the book you read, there's a couple different names for each one. Like the Riso Hudson version is the one I use the most. But the 8's a Challenger, and it's like, I think another one calls it like the Boss, but they tend to, yeah, maybe it's the Bull or the Bear. It's something like that. Yeah. But they tend to be like charismatic, but also like take up a lot of space, like big personalities.
Like maybe maybe you might have to wait 30 seconds.
Yeah, like tend to have strong opinions and also like can be hot-headed and short-tempered at times.
I think the 8 is ringing a bell right now.
And all this is through like there's different levels of health. Like so, all this is through the lens of like someone in their average like level of health as the Enneagram references. So 8s don't have to be like that, but they are when it's where they're like personality driven.
What do we think Mike is? I seriously have no idea.
I don't know either, man.
It's hard, man.
Could be a 5.
Yeah, that'll be fun. You got to read it. You got to find
5,
out.
I really don't know.
That'll be fun for one of the next ones is you'll find out, see what you think you are, and that'll be a fun talking point.
You can have LP on for that, for the dissection.
We're going to.
Yeah.
All right, I'll try to figure it out before LP.
Quins.
But yeah, Nutt's a 3. I'm a 3.
Yeah, I'm a
I think
mystery.
Nutt's a 3.
And I'm a fucking bull, mate.
Yeah, he's a bull. All right.
Number 6.
I would have made a bull noise, but I don't know what noise a bull makes.
A 6 wing.
All right, let's go.
This is by Angry Goat Pepper Co.
Oh no, this is 7, isn't it?
7, yeah.
Give me a little more. I think it just.
Dreams of Calypso, Private Reserve.
Wait, mine looks different than yours, Kins. Do I?
Yeah, you got the wrong one.
You got
dude.
the wrong one. It's
It's
the yellow.
yellow.
Oh.
Ooh, you were about
Come on,
to.
dude.
Oh, I almost went with the
Super hot Caribbean style hot sauce. Cool mermaid on it.
Hit me with a little bit.
Does anybody else need more? Mine's pretty
It
yellow.
just looks, like
I got a hot spot on mine for
I
sure.
feel like
I'm feeling
like
pretty
based on
bullish.
yeah.
That was a lot. Sorry,
I'm
King.
feeling pretty bullish. Right
I'll put a little bit on mine too.
I feel like I want to take up a lot of space at this table.
Yeah, you're already doing it. Your knees are wide out.
Oh my god.
This has some meat.
That one's also got like a little bit of sweetness right before it smacks you in the mitt. But there's some fruit in that.
Caribbean style.
It's crazy. I feel like I like know that pepper flavor, but can't figure out what it is.
Shout out the Caribbeans. What's the ingredients?
Whoa.
You actually want? I can't tell if you're joking.
No,
I do. I really
I'd be
do.
interested.
I really do. That one's lingering.
Whoa.
Whatever yellow 7 pot pepper mash is,
Oof.
pineapple, mango, lime.
Yeah, there's that pineapple mango. That went away. That pineapple mango went away real
Prepared
quick.
yellow mustard,
Oh, yellow mustard.
some vinegar, carrot, cane sugar, garlic.
That's the
Allspice.
first one. I'm like, yeah, that one's getting me.
So, and the next one's the big jump too, right?
Oh,
Big
that
jump.
won't
Next
do an
one's
extra
big jump.
dab then.
The next was a big jump.
I swear we grew one of these on the farm I worked on.
Yeah,
That pepper.
one of those
that-
chicken wings.
No, I wish.
Tell us a little bit about the farm you worked on.
Well, I think we grew a pepper that had this flavor, but it was like intentionally without heat, because it always felt like it was about to be hot. But this one's like this one's with the heat.
That's almost like a ethical dilemma, you know, kind of like growing, like making a
An
baby.
ethical- you think it's an ethical dilemma?
Yeah, kind of like
having an ethical.
like you're gonna birth a, like if you could birth a baby but purposefully take out some traits from it, you know.
Whoa.
Okay. Yeah. No, it is just like that. Now
Yeah,
that
just if the pepper could think, feel, grow up, experience, live. Who's to say the pepper doesn't do those things?
Do you want to talk about the farm the farm a little bit, or should
Just
I
want to
ask?
smack me around.
Wow.
Way to go in on that. No, I like that you're going.
That's a bit of a tangent question, but happy to hear about the farm.
about the farm I worked on in North Carolina.
I would also like to hear about the farm.
Was it Maury?
It was in Rougemont.
Sounds French.
Yeah, it does. Wow. It was in Rougemont, which is like 20 minutes outside of Durham.
Don't do that. That's gonna.
It does hurt a little bit more when you have to
it
talk.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
on
a
my
lot.
lips a little bit.
And
you
you
know,
have to
it
talk
really-
the most.
Yeah, does that like spread it around? Because that's what it feels like.
It brings your attention to it more.
The saliva, the tongue hitting my
Yeah.
The more I talk, the more it stings.
Yeah, one of you talk.
So Nut worked on a farm.
Rougemont, North Carolina.
Yeah, it was like a vegetable and flower farm. It's like pretty small scale, like pretty much everything by hand. Really cool place, like really cool owners. Tim and Helga. It was called Four Leaf Farm. Got introduced to them actually through Liam's dad, because Liam's dad also farms. He does like blueberries and other things. So got introduced to him that way, and then worked there for like 2.5, 3 years before I moved out here. But cool experience for sure. We grew a ton of peppers and used to like play around, like kind of daring each other to eat them, which was sometimes okay and sometimes really bad,
Yeah.
depending. So
We're about to get really bad.
This one kind of gives me the feeling of like condensing my like head. I feel like
I've got it in my
shrinking.
ears,
like
dude. Yeah.
focusing.
Not even focusing. Like I'm like my head
Smaller.
feeling like it's like getting pushed
like
in.
cloudy fog.
Yeah.
God, just like squeezing, kind of like a pressure feeling in my temples.
Like
and
seeping
whatnot.
the moisture out.
Did they pay you on this farm, or did they just kind of like feed you and housed you, or was it like a co-house? Like, oh my god, was it like a
tough when you talk,
co-housing
right?
type of situation? Because I grew up in co-housing. For people that don't know, and I was also homeschooled till 7th grade. For people that don't know, so I'm
That
kind of a
makes
weirdo.
sense.
But
No way.
yeah, dude.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, man. But did they like feed you, or did they pay you, or what was it like?
They paid me. And I mean, we got vegetables that we could take home and all that stuff. And we always had lunch like together. Like we had a lunch break and they provided lunch, which was always pretty cool. They were like from Denmark. So we always had like homemade bread and like just like sandwich toppings and fresh vegetables for lunch every day, which was pretty rad. And then no matter how hot it was, which in North Carolina gets pretty hot and humid, like we had hot tea and cookies every afternoon. Yeah, which is, it does seem, but I was
Especially right
actually
now.
reading something the other day that apparently that helps cool you down in some ways. because your body like reacts to the absorption of like the hot liquid and like starts running like responses to like cool you down because you have something hot in there.
Yeah, that makes sense because your body wants. Interesting that you had sandwich toppings. I usually put my sandwich things like inside of the sandwich instead of on top.
We did open faced everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's how they do it.
Is open face even a sandwich at that point?
It's open face.
Or is it just a sandwich?
So this reminds me, when I was in Germany for U24s at like training camp, it was just like they would just put out like bologna for like every single meal, and there wasn't like bread. It was just like bologna, and that was it.
We had bread, which was I can't.
There was bread sometimes, but not for breakfast. For breakfast, it was just bologna. And like bologna with like jelly in it. Like different types. It was awful.
That's how I felt, I think, for U24s when we went to
Raw dog in it, right?
for England.
Is that you said no
This is a
liquid,
long
dude?
pod.
Well, no one else has had anything.
I have
We're gonna
taken
do-
sips of my wine, I
Not
will
s-
be honest. But
All right.
Not super bullish, but
We kind of primed nut for this one at dinner after our second ADL, after one of our ADL games. We talked about it a bit, but top 5 throwers of all time. And then I would also like to hear, and don't be
Pavel.
don't be
Pavel.
modest. And then top 5 current throwers, I would like to hear too, if we can get that.
all time and then current.
And then like one still playing, yeah.
Men's, women's, both.
Oh,
however you want to do it.
however you want to do it.
Oh man, that makes it tough for sure.
We can just do men's because that's what we did at dinner, and that's what we're gonna, yeah.
Can we do men's plus volley?
Yeah, do that.
Yeah.
Or just special shout out
Yeah.
for being a
Actually,
name that
number
everyone
one.
thought of like when we were doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, we just limit to men's all time. Yeah, I actually thought about this question like a couple more times and trying to figure out what best thrower actually means.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of different ways you can take it. But I think it's like, I was trying to think of it through the lens of like what throwers would make me change how I play defense. So I think that list is like, I didn't actually see him play, but other than like a couple YouTube clips, but I think all time Jeff Cruikshank's up there. Used to play for Furious George. So all I'm working off of is film, but he looked pretty gnarly good about changing the shape of the field.
For people that don't quite understand that, what do you mean by changing the shape of the field?
Yeah, it's actually a really good question. I think
Go ask Mike.
I'll get back to you tomorrow.
yeah, we'll get back to you tomorrow. I got a couple middle schoolers to ask about it. To me, changing the shape of the field is like just it changes. Like when that thrower has the disc, it changes what spaces you have to respect.
Yeah.
You know, like most of the time, if you're playing downfield defense and the disc gets trapped, you're like worried about 4 side under and like 4 side deep. It's way different if now all of a sudden you have to worry about like break side deep, as well as like crossfield space and the ability for a thrower to like get it there in one throw and pretty accurately and with a low transit time. So just making it where you have to change how you position yourself and what spaces you prioritize as a defender.
And to kind of like maybe bring it into like our circle, when I cut for nut, there's certain cuts that I make that I don't make for many other people. Maybe I'll make them for Kins with a backhand force. But there's cuts that I won't make for other people, or there's spaces that I won't try to fight for when nut has a disc. For example, like a butterfly cut, like a butterfly cut, I'll make it really deep. I'll start it from really deep when nut has it because I know he can put the proper power and speed and touch on it that is required for a deep butterfly cut.
How does that make you feel, Nut? He's making it harder for you.
I know.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing because I know he can do it.
Well, I think that you could debate whether it makes it harder for me or not. If I have that throw, does it make it any harder? It's a harder throw than maybe if he starts a little shallower, but is that window there?
But it's also harder to defend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From that
So
deep
maybe
position.
it's easier.
Yeah. No, I think these are interesting questions when it comes to throwing. Like, if you can hit spaces that are harder to hit, but you hit them with some amount of consistency, because I definitely don't think I'm uber consistent all the time, especially with like harder shots. Like, it does make the defense change how they have to orient. And like, yeah, if they don't respect you on a deep butterfly, then all of a sudden you're open and it's a much easier throw. So I think it makes me feel good. It means all countless hours and thousands of throws that I've spent time doing has meant something. I think it would feel, especially as maybe an Enneagram type 3, it would feel less valuable if I had spent all that time doing it and then I was just bad at throwing, or I was the guy that they were like, we just need you to reset the disc when you get it. But I guess back to the list. Jeff Cruikshank for sure.
For those just listening, Kins is fucking with his mic again.
Very bullish again. I think Jimmy's in there for sure. Like, Jimmy makes you play defense in a way and respect, like, kind of especially deeps and break side, especially like anything regarding his flick. Like, he makes you respect a lot more field space than you would against the average thrower. He also gets, I think, a knock in there because he's got a pretty high level of consistency. Him and I are for sure different in terms of, I think maybe he's not risk averse. He's just really good about being more patient. But he also, like, doesn't seemingly turn it over a ton. But I don't know. I'd have to go to the stats to figure that out. But he does a good job of, like, really creating with a lot more underneath space, and maybe doesn't throw deep as often, but I think he's just as threatening.
Sure.
So Jimmy, Jeff, Ashlyn. I think Ashlyn Joy's in there for sure. Like, he's another wow, that pepper came back. He's another dude that I was actually just listening to Grant's podcast about his shimmy and had flashback. I, like, guarded him at
Didn't he say he got it from Ashlyn?
who?
No, Grant was just describing Ashlyn's shimmy.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, which I think Grant said it, but I think it's the best shimmy of anybody I've seen play. It's like, I think it's better than Jimmy's too. Jimmy's is different. It's better than Ben's.
I don't believe you.
Yeah, it's but I had flashbacks when Grant was talking about that. Like, I guarded Ashlyn at World Games tryouts like 4 or 5 years ago, whenever the last one was, or 2 cycles ago actually, and, like, guarded him and it went on the sideline, and I was like, cool, don't, like, he's gonna shimmy, he's gonna try his around, like, don't bite on it. And he threw a shimmy, and I went so hard the other way, and he just threw, like, an absolute laser of a field switching flick, and I was like, you have got to be kidding. And then he proceeded to do it like 2 more times at that point. Like, while I was, like, mentally in my head, I was like, I'm so game on for this. I'm, like, prepared for this. I'm telling myself, don't bite on the shimmy. And then absolutely just blitzed and shit, like, switched the force basically when he did it, which is, like, crazy that he can be so good at that, that and you know and you're primed for it, and everyone knows he's going to do it, and then you still fall for it.
I have 2 things. One's a statement and one's a question, so I'll start with the statement. When we played, Bravo played Ring of Fire at Nationals 2021, the year you guys won. We played them first game of pool play. They absolutely fucking smacked us. But I got switched on to you, and it was on the sideline, and I was forcing middle, and it was on the flick sideline. I was forcing middle. I'm like, he's gonna shimmy and throw a flick. Don't bite on the shimmy. And you shimmied, and I fucking, like, almost laid out to the other side. You threw a flick up the line. I was like, God damn it. Question: did the coaches, like, was Ashlyn someone that they wanted you to guard so they could see you guard him? Just thinking back to Grant, then, like, the coaches, like, telling him, look, we need you to show us that you can guard these people.
Yeah, that was actually, it made me, when I was listening to that, it made me try to think about who it was for me, and I'm trying to remember who the third one was, but Ashlyn actually wasn't one of the people they had me guard. Dutchie had, like, a similar conversation with me as to Grant, like, especially, like, my game, especially up to that point, had been mostly offensive. I mean, I played defense in college to start, but I'd been a center handler on Ring for several years at that point. And Ashlyn and I matched up on the first day. That's just how it went. He kind of got a mix of everybody. But the people that Dutchie had requested me to guard were, like, Kocher, Trent Dillon, and Dylan. Free child. Yeah, I was
Jesus.
Yeah, I was like, okay, well,
That's annoying.
Yeah, I was like, well, they're gonna cut me.
Why? Why? I don't really understand it.
I think it's too, like, you have to guard such a diversity of players at World Games, like, and, you know, like, a lot of the Colombians are quick. Like, if you're gonna play the Japanese World Games team, like, you're gonna have a lot of quicker, players on that team as well. And the way you structure world games, like you're going to have to be able to guard some of those players. So I think it was mostly a test of like, you're going to have to be able to do this at times. So let's see how well you do on it. And I just remember we played 4v4, full field mixed. And I was guarding Kotcher, and I was like, this is going to be like pretty crazy difficult. And I remember like I guarded him, and he like got in the middle of the field, and I had like a slight buffer to the fourth side, and they just threw like an absolute smoking missile to the break side, like over the top. And I was like, okay, well, this is how we're playing. Like I've got no chance. Like if I was supposed to be able to just like touch him the whole time, you guys could cut me right now, because there's no way it's going to happen. So, but yeah, I think it was challenging me to play and guard people that I maybe wouldn't normally match up against, because again, and Grant touched on it when he talked to you all, like to be on that team, you've got to be super versatile. You can't just be good at guarding big guys. Like you have to be able to do that and guard a bunch of other players too.
Maybe Dutchie just doesn't like you.
Yeah, maybe he did that so he could have data points to cut you.
Yeah, that could be true also.
Yeah, because that seems like pretty.
And for people, to put it into context for people that don't know who these people are, they're like some of the best cutters in the game currently and ever for argument's sake.
And they're small,
and they're all fast, smaller and really fast and really quick. And that's not necessarily Nutt's skill set.
And all arguably great handler defenders, which
didn't help you at all.
Yeah, it didn't help me, even if we did get a turn. I was like, cool. Super hard matchup on both sides of the disc, almost playing to my weaknesses on both. So, yeah, it's a fun tryout, though.
Perfect.
It also
I know it sounds fun, but it really was.
It makes me wonder, like, who are you asking to guard those people? And they're like, oh, yeah, they're doing a good job. Like, are we watching anyone guard Kotcher and Freechild and be like, oh, yeah.
Each other.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Or like Grant would guard some of those guys. Or like Dylan guarded Ashlyn, and I remember watching that, and I was like, wow, that's a pretty fun matchup to watch. It's like Dylan's harassing him, but Ashlyn's still getting open. I mean, it's like everyone at those tryouts are so good that
pick your poison.
Yeah, it's like no one's gonna. I think on defense, it's super hard to win a matchup. Like you can make a team by winning a matchup at that tryout. I mean, I think one of the most impressive things I saw at that whole tryout is like Bo ran just like a standard. It was like a hose stack, and he came under off the rail towards the middle, and Johnny Bansfield like blew it up on a layout block. And I was like, wow, like that's crazy.
And he still didn't make the team.
Still didn't make the team. He did some insane things, but didn't make the team. But you just don't see that many people getting that D. But everyone's good there, so everyone can kind of harass everyone else. I don't know if I was the best choices to harass those three people, but they harassed me pretty good for sure.
Do you think that Quinn or I could ever make a World Games team? Being honest.
Yeah.
And which one's more likely? I'm kidding.
I think Quinn right now has a better skill set to make a World Games team, because so much of it is also like endurance and versatility. Not that you're not a versatile player.
You just threw endurance in there?
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you think you're the more endurance-oriented athlete?
No, actually, now that I said that.
I thought you were about to argue it, and I was just going to listen.
I think you could, Kins, for sure. I think the challenge is like you have your skill set's unique in some ways, which I think can be an advantage or a disadvantage. Like if you look at those World Games teams, most of them are like hybrid style, like versatile players in a lot of cases. Yeah. And you're not seeing as many like big strength type players that are leveraging like a unique strength. Yeah. Like even Nate Goff, right? Like Nate's a huge
hybrid,
but hybrids, like he can throw, he can defend the deep space. He's also a really good handler defender for how big he is. So it's like even specialists are not really specialists. Yeah. They're just like
they're specialists that lean a certain way. So like I don't want to put it into like a microcosm, but they took Nate because he was like he was a big defender, and they didn't have as many big defenders on that team. In my opinion, I don't really know for sure, but
I mean, like Dylan's not guarding your deep guy, right? He's not matching up on Australia's
6'4" Australian dude.
But he can guard that person, and he can play it positionally where he's still versatile enough that no one would choose that matchup, but you're not going to be freaking out trying to coordinate a switch in the middle of the point if it happens.
Got it.
We got
Endurance.
Jimmy, Ashland, that other dude.
Jeff Cruikshank.
Cahill.
Yeah, I think Robbie Cahill's up there. I was thinking about Dylan Tennell some more. I just don't have enough data
I don't really either.
to like. I wish I could have played against him or seen him play like when he was like hooping. Like it seems like he was a force. But so much of what I gathered from him was like he had huge throws, but then
Powerful.
also he could just like take off, and he's
Kinda like
he's
Jimmy
a big
a
dude.
bit.
Yeah, like especially I think like Jimmy in the mid 2010 something, like 2014, 15, 16 Jimmy. Yeah, back when he was like primarily downfield. Like, yeah, it was really problematic because it's like you couldn't really just force him under without pressure, or you give him too much of a window to throw to. If you try to challenge him too much, he's a great target to throw deep to. And if you're just a great cutter defender, you can just go drag around in the handler space and manipulate you there. So, but Robbie Cahill, I think is up there for me. I just guarded him one of my first years on ring and just felt like I was in an absolute cyclone the whole time. Like kind of like Ashland, but in a very different way, where I just like never felt like I was in a good position on the mark. It's like one of the few people I've guarded where I like only felt like I was marking incorrectly the entire stall count. Like, yeah, it's such a whirlwind of like fakes and like fakes about actual threatening things and just little shoulder movements where I was just like, honestly, I should just turn around and go guard someone else downfield. It would be equally as effective as me being here on the mark, doing absolutely nothing except just like loosely being in the way.
And when we were having this conversation earlier, after that first road trip post tequila shot, shout out Coolman.
Yeah.
Thanks, Coolman.
Thanks for that shot.
Very cool.
We Robbie didn't come up right away. And for those of you that don't know Robbie, because he's not quite as old as Jeff, but he was in that king spot, that king role that Revolver has right before Ashland. And I actually always thought he was the better player of the two, but
Maybe paved the way for Ashland too.
yeah, maybe a little bit.
I don't really know. I'm just.
And Ashland was pretty good when Robbie was doing that too. He was just a menace on defense
Yeah,
first.
he was.
And then the fifth one's I'm gonna say I think it's you.
Well,
even if
it's
you will.
nuts list.
It's all right.
I'll
It's hard to put yourself in a list.
Yeah, it's hard to put yourself on a list for sure.
We will put.
But I
Nut up.
think most people in the frisbee community would say, I don't know.
I think especially if you exclude turnovers and just focus on ability to impact the field.
Forget about the turnovers, man.
I think I do very quickly. Most of the
That's
time.
the difference between me and you.
Well, it's a learned.
Yeah, that's
it's a
the
learned trait.
That's the difference between die and quit.
It's the only.
That's
thing.
the difference.
it's
The only one.
That's it. Everything else,
The
it's
only
like
one.
same thing.
Everyone, a lot of people have been telling us. I mean, we even got confused for each other the other night at the
By
game.
our own announcer.
Yeah, I mean that. Truly, the only difference between Quinn and
There you
I
go.
is how long we think about our turnovers. But yeah, I think if it's just ability to impact and change the field shape, I would throw my hat in the ring.
Yeah.
You can officially throw it in.
All right, I'll officially throw it in.
Do we have any other current? Give me one more current that you would put.
Oh, one more current.
Throwers these days suck, huh?
No. This is maybe a hot take. Like, I don't know if he's there yet, but I was watching the Portland game, AUDL game the other night. In Sweeney's like huge, tall lefty.
This is a hot take.
It's a hot take.
dude.
It's a hot take. I'm not putting him in top throwers,
I
but I
thought
think
this
he has
was
potential to eventually be.
enough,
Just because he's super
Big lefty, yeah, that's
big lefty, can like bomb it.
I just feel
super
like that would be a
far.
great build for a great thrower.
Be a great build for a great thrower. We'll see if it pans out, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean,
But
I think he's already
Rotate
like.
your mic just
I think he's already like 27 or 28 years old. So
That's
clock is running.
Clock's running for sure. Calvin Brown might be in there.
I agree.
Yeah, he's got some throws that I think are
Guy's
super
sick.
sick.
All right, now we're just. Now this is just.
There's no one else in Colorado I can think of.
Kansas is like right there though. Like
We're just throwing
got a
Calvin-
great build
Just
for
right-
it. We'll see if it
yeah,
works.
right
If I was lefty,
Right
yeah,
on the
like I'd be-
cusp. Right on the cusp. I think Ken's could work his way into that argument.
Great build for
I
him.
can't believe you just threw Ian Sweeney in there before me.
That was a potential pick. Like,
Did you do that on purpose to piss me off?
That's a betting.
I'm like actually wondering.
That's a
if that
betting
was
line,
planned
right?
out. No, like actually, did you do that to piss me off?
Your age
Was that-
showing, man.
Was that serious?
John
I need to know.
Lithio, if you're listening, Kins thinks he's faster than you.
Yeah, he's certain of it.
I don't think I ever started with me saying I was faster than John Lithia. I think it was more that like I would.
It started with us saying you were slower than John Lithio, is how it started.
Yeah, okay, maybe.
Yeah, that's.
I already have a. Don't I already have a race with Saul planned out?
You do. Oh my God.
We'll
yeah.
get Lithio in there as well.
I'm interested in seeing.
Oh, we can do that 8-0 Champ weekend.
That's
Saul.
I mean, all I'm going to be doing until then is working on my speed and endurance. So,
well, I'll have to keep thinking about it, but I think Calvin's probably
your other one.
my
think that's fair.
my primary pick for who else is like really interesting to watch throw in a field changing way. I haven't watched him play a ton, but when I have, and I also he was at our beach tryout and he threw some things on the beach that I was like,
Whoa.
that's an incredible throw.
What about Matsuka in terms of creativity?
Oh, super creative. And
We're opening a whole nother.
yeah, that's a whole
is
when you get to creative throwers,
Yeah.
right? It changes a lot
the
of that.
criteria is hard to how we're talking about. We almost we would need to define it more to really have a good convo. Because I feel like you could also just go into best person with the disc, most dangerous person with the disc who is effective with it.
So
Like Oscar is super precise,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but
I don't if he's standing on the end zone line, are you worried about him ripping it at 85 yards? Pins on the throw and the wind and all that stuff, but he's one of the best throwers when it comes to pure precision, especially in the 50-yard range,
Yeah.
and his ability to break the mark and all that type of stuff. Brett's super creative, but there are other things that maybe don't change the field shape as much.
yeah, and he's a little unpredictable even for his own team, I would say.
Because some people are better at the tangible skill of throwing a frisbee, but not as good as making the right decision
effectiveness
over and
on
over
that.
again
Yeah,
and hitting and all that.
Yeah.
So it's all interesting when you weigh it in.
and there's one other person we didn't mention that was mentioned at dinner. It was Bart Watson.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
that
he's-
Mikey thinks
he's from
and that
for
doesn't
me.
have the
I don't have the
breadth of.
Yeah, I haven't seen him play
Yeah.
enough. And when I saw him play, it was when he was transitioning out of men's open club and was just still playing with playing with Jimmy and kind of still playing really well. But
Yeah. Yeah, I think also.
I'm not over that Ian Sweeney shit, dude. I'm not over that whatsoever.
All right, let's do number 8.
Wait, I actually have a couple thoughts on the
really?
thrower thing. So, yeah, and Bart also
It's fucked up, dude.
Bart also comes from a different era of the game as well.
That is, that is.
I mean, so does Jeff, but
It's when you talk about quarterbacks now.
absolute skill, I would put Bart up there for sure. And one thing that I wanted to mention about you, Nut, I will probably send this video out to Summit. It's another thinking basketball video. I've sent a couple of those out. But he just put one out about Jimmy Butler and Jimmy's ability to manipulate defenses and counters and also use the same move over and over but use it to attack in a different way. And there's so many great athletes and great quarterbacks, great basketball players, just great athletes in general who manipulate defenses. And I do think you do that maybe better than any of the other throwers on the list.
Current players, I would say.
Definitely. I think you're up there for the
That I know of.
top of the current players in terms of really feel. It's more of a feeling of what the defense, where they're weighted, so you immediately counter. It's literally change the shape of the field by switching it across in one throw.
Yeah, Nut couples the throwing with the calculation.
Yeah.
In moment
Right.
calculations of things going on.
Right, the brain.
Yeah.
Brain.
The brain.
which to get back to our earlier conversation, I think is wholly from coaching.
Okay.
Which is
I don't know where you thought I was going to take
I thought
that.
you were
kid.
going. I thought you were coming.
get back to Ian Sweeney.
Yeah, I thought you were coming. Anyway,
Oh, I thought you
But
were
I
talking
do-
about the kink conversation.
we all went somewhere else with that. And
That's a good job by me then,
Yeah.
orchestrating that thought pattern. But I do think a lot of that's from coaching, where it's like you coach enough where you like start to figure out and get a feel for the rhythm of the game and like what should be happening. What would I like coach someone to try to do?
Yeah.
I definitely don't think that was like something I always had in terms of being able to like anticipate. Oh, like my mark's
Right.
going to overcorrect here because they think I'm going to pop it out, and then I can look the other way.
I think the same thing, even for myself, like and in our feedback discussion, what we had with Liam, there's like a consistency of everything. The fact that you guys now have been running the same thing for more than one season, we finally have something where you can start talking in a more nuanced way. So the feedback becomes more meaningful and more efficient. And even for me, like, even though I've been coaching for a long time and coaching teams, to semis, I still didn't, I would say my understanding of Ultimate really blew up in a positive way. Like when Bob came back to Mama Bird and, in conversations with Nut, since he started helping us, and also TK, obviously, like from it. We've had this conversation several times this week about how like whenever we have to play single directional forces, like, man, this is hard. Like I have to cover all this ground all the time. I'm always isolated. But even, like I play against weaker competition, the older I get, obviously I'm playing now in Grandmasters, but I see the field better. Like I just know what's going to happen. And, I think these are all great plugs for why you should coach if you want to be a great player, because you're thinking about the game constantly and you're understanding it from different perspectives.
I wonder if the game is slowing down in your head now that you're in Grandmasters, or if like the game is slowing down.
I had a comment I was throwing. I threw a deep shot to a teammate and he came up. It was an incompletion, and he came up to me afterwards and he was like, I was just like, sorry, Mikey. I was like trying to change the shape of my cut to give you some more space to throw to, and I was like, that's all right. I just sort of like misjudged your speed, and then Bob came in and he was like, that's Mikey's way of saying you're slow.
Which is true.
I do like what you did there, though. I think from now on, I'm also going to start calling all of the turnovers I have just incompletions. I think that like it has
And that you misjudged.
Well, it's not just on Nut,
it's
a lot of other
it's
factors.
it's an incompletion, not necessarily a turnover.
Why put the blame on someone?
Yeah, who knows whether it was the thrower or not?
Yeah.
So,
All right, should we make this leap here?
Yeah, should we do it? Should we get Smith to do this one with us?
Smith, you want the bomb?
Come on, do it with us.
Wait, we're
just one
debombing?
more bite.
they've been mild so
Wait,
far.
this is the bomb?
This is the bomb. We can.
No ice cream.
No, we
It's
wanted
not till
if you
after
want to
we can have
take
a
the
little ice
bomb.
cream party.
All right, this is.
That one took a while to wear
Smith
off.
says no. He
Yeah.
shook his
My
head
lips are still
no.
burning.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I'm
mine are
good,
too.
but like,
All right, this is the bomb, which is
The bomb beyond insanity.
kind of known as like the jump, a big jump in spice level compared to the last ones, apparently. So here we go.
All right.
okay, here we go.
Are you taking a big bite or?
Yeah, this one I've had this. It does not taste good. It's just pain.
I went in. I'm going in.
You took a big
That
bite,
looks like
kids. Yeah, that's a good bite. That's what I got.
My goal is to eat it all before I feel it.
Oh my god. You didn't feel it right away?
It's gonna be hot.
Yeah, you're right, Mikey. This one doesn't have a lot of flavor.
This one tastes really bad.
This one hit on real late, like in my last bite.
Is everybody else finishing it?
No, I'm not.
I'm gonna do a job,
I think
Do it
mine
well.
was. I think I got it easy. I think mine was kind of
You want
spread
some
thin. I feel like I should just for like.
Do some more.
I don't want more, but
Do some more.
Dude, I don't think you do.
Wow.
I definitely do not. I think I've done the bomb quite a bit, so
Quite a bit. Why?
it is thick.
Oh, so thick.
It feels thick.
I don't know what is the proper way to just cope. You just sit, huh?
I don't know.
You just sit with it.
I'm trying to ignore that I had it, but ignoring it so far has not been successful.
Something wants me to do a primal kind of we all start hitting our chest.
Yeah, I feel like I would punch something for sure. Yeah.
Do we want the ice cream?
Stan, you want to bring some of that bread over? Give me a piece, I think.
Yeah, and if you go to the store, grab some casein as well.
This is no joke. Yeah, this is good stuff. That one,
that hurt.
That one's hot.
a few bites, I was underwhelmed, and then I started to get whelmed.
Very whelmed.
Stan, you want to say anything?
Generous slice of butter.
Enough for one, huh? Yeah, no worries. Ooh.
Wait, can you slice us a couple?
No, it does. It hurts my tongue.
It actually kind of hurts to eat it.
I'm also to the point that I'm considering taking another bite for the bit.
Well, you got more. You got more wings.
You're right.
That are spicier.
A lengthy question here too.
Yeah, that's good. Mikey, do you want to read it?
Mikey.
Yeah.
Good at reading shit.
Would love to.
Go ahead.
Speaking of fire
Oh.
and Ring of Fire, what was it like finally winning?
Ring of Fire. That's so fucked up. Oh, God. Okay.
Ooh.
So, when we asked Liam this question,
I think I'm going to do it.
Liam hadn't been through quite as many of the pain and the suffering that we are currently experiencing right now in this moment.
Trauma bonding.
But having played for the team for so many years, what were the culture shifts like and overall changes that, helped bring the team to success? What got Ring over the hump?
Part of me feels like it's hard for me to focus on the question, right?
Thank you, Sam.
Me too. Oh, there's something that you want to share?
No, it's good. Just two is good. There's four of us sitting here, Smith. But, you got bread for 3 people. 4 people at the table. No, I don't. On the principle, on the absolute principle of the matter, I will not eat any bread.
Oh man,
if this is how Stan is going to approach the situation.
It actually really helps.
No worries, dude.
I got.
So the question was, what was the question?
Ring of Fire. That feeling that you have in your mouth right now.
The second bite was a bad idea.
Yeah, talk about the growth of the team over the years, and you were part of many of those universe point losses, if not all of them, in semis. What was the feeling like getting over the hump with really the team that you grew up with?
Yeah, I think. Wow, thank you, Kins. I know who brought the bread.
Also, placed right in the hot
Sam.
sauce.
Yeah. Good dipper. Wow, mad props for all the people that do this on YouTube.
Yeah, dude. My head is spinning.
No, it really hurts my head. That's what I was saying.
Yeah,
That like
compresses it.
crushing head feeling.
Yeah. Winning it was sweet for sure.
Good answer.
I'll start with that.
That's actually really funny you say that because I thought
The same
the
thing.
opposite. Like I thought when you won, maybe you didn't like it or
Yeah,
it wasn't
and
good.
a lot of people have brought that up that they thought that, but no, I actually did enjoy it.
Misconception.
Yeah, it's a huge misconception.
Thanks for debunking that.
But yeah, winning it was and I guess like I've had the good fortune of like being on teams that have won Orbit championships from like Worlds to college and have coached stuff at YCC. And winning's always cool, right? And like you guys know from winning last year, like it's hard to beat ending your season with a win. And there's like all these things that I think Grant was touching on this too in his discussion with you all. There's like all these things that could have gone slightly different that could have changed the course.
Like that lefty backhand and pool play from, was it Tom Doy?
Tom Doy, yeah. Yeah, we got fortunate on that one. But yeah, if they score that, it's a whole different, right? We lose to revolve our own universe again.
Yeah.
You know, we stay on brand for the 12,000th year. But instead, like, they just miscommunicate on that. And it's an incomplete. Not necessarily a turnover, and we end up scoring it the other way, right? But there's a lot of moments in that game that could have gone either way. And I think the culmination of working with a team for that long and a team that's been on the hunt for that long and winning it, I think feels really special. Like, I think if I was able to attend college again after 2015 and we'd have won again in 2016, like, that would have been special, but I don't think it would have been that special from the winning aspect. And I think you touched on this a little bit, Kins, but like in college, winning in 2015, like we won and that was cool for sure. But I think I was already over the winning by the time we had won. Like so much of the value of that season was in the season itself. And that was just like to top it off. Ring, on the other hand, I think we had been striving towards that and had so many like heartbreaker losses for so many years that finally getting one, and not to mention like getting it on Universe. So, you know, you win in a way where you never really knew what the outcome of the game was going to be. So you're kind of under tension the whole time. That's way different than being up like 15-9, right, when you win. So I think it was really special, and I think really special both for us as a team, but also us as a program. Like there's so many alumni and so many people and so many like ghosts of Ring of Fire that helped us get there, and such a big community and such a like really supportive group of like former players and alumni. And it's something that like Noah and every captain I've ever had on Ring, like Taylor Pope when I first started to like always preach about like the people that came before you. So I think for a culture that emphasizes that and talks about that a lot, like to finally win one feels really rad, both for the actual winning, but also for like what it means to so many people that you know.
Yeah. And I blacked out while you were talking, so I don't know if you touched on this, but for when we talk to Grant, and when we talk ourselves, there was a distinct like shift in culture that Grant thought, and we thought that kind of propelled us. Was there like a time that you can pinpoint to that, or was there a specific type of culture shift that?
And maybe it was not that year, but
yeah, maybe not that year, but at a certain point, was there a shift?
Yeah, I think there were a lot of small things.
I mean, and Ring also used to be known for being the team nobody wanted to play.
But not because of the on-field skill, because of the maybe leveraging of the rules to our advantage, and maybe slight over-physicality.
That's what I'm going to call cheating.
Yeah. Just bending the rules, just like leveraging the rules. Yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, that was before I got on the team, but there was definitely still a lot of that going on. Like we were still like the be physical, like, you know, bump on the mark style team when I started. When Mike came on as a consultant my first year on Ring, that was kind of, again, like with another program for him, like another catalyst for us moving in the right direction, especially because I think he brought a perspective of like, we can't just like try harder and be more physical. Like that's not going to win us games by itself. Like you can be more physical and you can have high effort, but you're going to have more than that to like compete and win. So I think that started us down more of a path from the technical side of playing to get where we needed. But the cultural side of playing, I think that was like a slow burn too. UNC got in a really good place, and this probably parallels you guys on Bravo pretty well with like the Mama Bird guys and Lotus and how much impact that had on the program. But I think the kind of additions of a lot of UNC guys kind of around the same 1, 2, 3 years in like 13, 14, 15, it kind of brought probably just our overall numbers to a tipping point where that culture started to be infectious, like the culture we had at UNC and how it kind of started to leak over in the Ring. And there were some other non-UNC people that had a big impetus on that too. Like the Boo Ring thing came from two UNCW guys, Jared Bowen and Stephen Bender. And that that in my mind is probably like one of the biggest like impetuses for us shifting a little bit. And we still like, I'm not sure anybody would have thought we were like the spirited version of Ring at that point. Almost certainly not. Like that was originally started kind of like as a troll, but also as like an internal thing of like, screw the narrative. Like let's play and let's focus on us. And if people want to like use that narrative, we'll just own it and we'll go with it, even if we don't think we're playing like that necessarily. And I don't think we were necessarily at that point. Probably in 2015, we ended up losing in quarters to Machine. I don't think we were any more chippy than any other team playing at that point. I think 3 years ago for sure, but I think that moment of like trying to flip the narrative and own it was a big one for us, and that just like spun further and further. And I think just the kind of North Carolina ultimate community at the college level and Triforce and all these other players that were like growing up had like impacts on their college teams and stuff, and that eventually kind of inundates. Yeah, it trickles up as those players grew up. So when the Sauls and the Matts and the Henrys and the Liams and Dylans all got to the team, like they don't want to play on a team that's cheating. And we weren't by that point, but it's like it's another addition of all these people that are good influences towards like playing in a more spirited way and playing in a more like technical, where it's like leverage your skill, not the rules, to be a good team.
Jokic just hit the most insane shot I think I've ever seen.
That
240 of the fourth quarter.
A master
If
manipulator
anybody
for
wants
sure.
to go back, it was sick.
Take the lead. 109, 107.
They were Smith. I don't know.
Great.
All right. So we have 2 wings.
Let's go into the next wing.
So we
gotta get these.
we have
I like
two.
the leg.
I'm trying to say that we have 2 wings.
This is an
left.
emergency.
This is the tough thing about growth is Kins, instead of like trying to correct for it, owns it and then exploits the things that we point out to leverage them.
Change takes time.
Emphasize.
Habits.
Yeah.
Making habits takes
So we have 2 wings left. We have more than 2 questions, so maybe we need to properly pick. But we could do some bonus
Yeah, we
rounds.
can do
But let's just get through the wings here. So we're
right.
on to Taco Vibes, right?
Yeah, Taco Vibes, number 9, by Butterfly Bakery of Vermont. Taco Vibes only. On the bottom, it says Burn Danger Extreme. Here we go.
Okay.
Okay, everybody feels good about this one.
I need a bit more, honestly. Mine's looking pretty weak.
I think it just soaks in.
I think, yeah, do what you want.
Yeah, mine looks.
Based on how I felt on the last one, I don't
Yeah,
know if
Quinn
I'm
and I
as
do look a
dousing
little
it.
weak.
I tossed
This
these
is a
ones.
little-
I might not have done it evenly.
Tiny bit.
I mean, this feels fine to me.
All right, you guys are good over there, I think.
All right.
Okay, see you guys on the other side.
It's kind of like somewhere a mix between like smelling salts
I
and
think this one's
cocaine.
gonna taste good though.
This one's bitter for me.
Has a little tang to it at the beginning.
That one tastes better than the bomb.
I'm wondering if I switched to bomb and Taco Vibes.
Are you? No.
Mine's
the
just-
consistency matches.
Mine's very bitter.
You want some more? It's pretty hot.
I think because we put some fresh on ours, so got like freshness. Gonna be a little.
Mine's plenty hot. Is yours bitter?
Mine tastes, I mean,
It's got some vinegar, like Tennessee.
Oh no, this is hot.
style.
Mine's actually. I'm not. The weirdness of when you feel them and.
I do like the flavor of this one.
I do not.
Really? It's like I think it's like kind of like Louisiana style.
You put some fresh some on.
I think I have the bomb now.
Really? Do you?
You may have. You've been sus over there. Did you put a little on yours? Try it. Because I'm actually not. I'm not.
Did your
That's
bomb?
not
Did your
react-
one that you just ate look like this?
I don't know, man.
This is the bomb.
You might have been bombed. Bomb was hectic. Wait, let me see it, Mikey.
The
I think
bomb
you
is
might have had the bomb.
yeah, dude. The bomb is worse than this.
Yeah, I'm in
I'm not feeling.
a lot of pain right now.
I'm not feeling this one.
I'm feeling it. It's just not as bad as the bomb.
I think you got the bomb.
I think Mikey switched. I think
got the
Mikey
bomb.
switched 8-9. I love that.
I can join you if you want.
I'm dizzy.
Do it. Yeah.
So you got the bomb for sure. Because I just got that one.
I don't think that one's that bad.
That one's
It's
not
really
that bad.
not that bad compared to the bomb, too.
I'll help you out, Mike. I'm going back
Yeah.
on the bomb.
My other one was not that
That's
bad.
your bomb, dude?
Holy.
It's tough.
All right.
I'm going to have to show off my play later.
I'll take over for Mike here.
Take over from Mike.
This is kind of a broad one, but do you have one specific frisbee memory that like comes to mind when you think of favorite frisbee memories? Top of
Matt
mind.
just went back in on the bomb.
Why?
I don't know why.
Taco Vibes wasn't easy.
Solidarity with Mikey.
Taco Vibes was easy for me.
You guys want me to go back in on my bomb a little bit?
Taco Vibes was not bad. The bomb is what I remember it.
The bomb is really bad.
Ask the question again.
Favorite frisbee memory,
Favorite.
if you got one.
Ooh.
One that comes to mind. And if it's just winning with ring, then we can move on. I'll get some more bread for us.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't even know if winning with ring is like in my top 3. Super sweet for sure, but I think I have a lot of other cool things that might supersede it. Were you talking about like singular moments or like
However you want to take
team
it.
experiences?
Yeah, whatever you want to do.
Word. I want to take back that bite of the bomb. But I think U24 mixed is probably up there for one of the coolest team experiences I ever had. That was one that like originally when I didn't make the open team, I was a little bit bummed because I was kind of excited about the prospect of playing on the U24 open team, and then I went and had training camp with the mixed team and got to play with them and would never go back and trade it for like being on any other team. It was just such a cool group of people, and that one, I think we were talented enough that winning was never really in doubt. So it was just about the team environment, and just a really cool team environment where everyone kind of just was there and showed up for everybody and supporting each other. And was like only bringing good things to the team, which is a lot easier to do in a national team environment for sure. You don't have the whole season for things to wear and stuff like that. But I think that one was particularly awesome and unique in that way, and stands out as like a really cool example of cool. Like this doesn't have to be about winning all the time. And I think that one was a pretty stark example of like, yeah, we won, but nothing about this team does the joy of it come from the winning aspect. Like we could have not won and I would have been totally as stoked. Maybe not totally as stoked because it's cool to end on a win, but I don't think it would have shrouded like my experience of that team.
It reminds me of something that with Grant and us were talking about. Like my brain is not working. He was saying like, I don't even know. Do you guys remember?
You're talking about probably the different types of winning.
Yeah, it's like in World Games, he felt that there was like a real chance that they could lose. So like it felt better when they won, but like for U24s, maybe for the US, it doesn't feel as good when you win because it's kind of an expected outcome.
Mm-hmm. Right, I think just
And
on
you're only set up for disappointment, basically.
Expectations change. You know, obviously, and that seems really obvious.
Yeah.
Expectations of your season change.
Kind of in going off that one is, do you have a teammate that sticks out from any team that as like a teammate you really enjoy playing with, one of your favorite teammates? Just one.
Oof.
I have a guess.
My head is pounding.
You have a guess. I'm interested to hear what your guess
Man.
is.
My guess?
Well, Mikey said he had a guess.
Oh,
We'll guess that. Well, I'll tell him what my guess is after he says.
after.
It's probably U24 as well. Like, there's so many people on the U24 team I think I could pick. Like, I think one of the coolest people to be teammates with, and it's someone I didn't know before U24, and like didn't really even know the name when I saw it on the roster. So, and I think that adds a whole effect of like, it's not someone I had a preconceived notion about who they were or anything like that. But Niels Clausen, he played at UCLA.
Never even heard of him.
Yeah, doesn't play anymore. but played at UCLA. I think he was like a U20 kid at one point, but then made the U24 team, and just like such a good dude, like awesome, like the most positive human you could possibly want on a team, and absolute standout hilarious, like the funniest dude on that U24. Like we had a lot of people that were funny on that team, and he was like, it wasn't even close. He was like working on a different tier. And he was just like, just a fun teammate on the field too, but it's the off the field stuff where he was just like always down to like make an event of something, or like to have a conversation, or just to like bring the group together. And he was constantly doing that. And I think it makes that experience a lot cooler when you have somebody that's like constantly like is a magnet essentially for the whole group. But he'd be up there for sure. LP's up there also for U24.
That was my guess.
Yeah, I mean, she was probably the teammate that I hung out with the most for sure, and by far one of my favorite. Like, if I could pick somebody for, especially in co-ed play, for on-field and off-field stuff, she'd be up there for sure. But yeah, I mean, Eli Kern's also super rad. He's actually going to be on the beach national team that I'll play on this fall too, and I'm super stoked about that.
That hasn't been announced, right? Because he was added late.
Maybe. So nut bomb, I guess.
Nut bomb.
There you have it. It's hard to know what's confidential and what's not, you know. But yeah, he's super rad and probably one of the best captains I've played for. Just really, really cool approach to like running a team, and really like sincere and authentic. He's like one of those dudes that like maybe didn't challenge me much in terms of like feedback and stuff like that, but if he has feedback for you, there's no doubt that we challenge the people we care about. Like it's so clear he cares about you as a teammate, which is rad.
My guess was going to be MGH.
Yeah, I mean Matt and Liam. I guess I was thinking about it through the U24 lens since we had just been talking about that. But yeah, Matt and Liam and Saul. Matt, Liam, and Saul are probably
like pretty unique. You coached them. They became incredible.
Yeah, I mean, as players and also as humans, I think it's for those three. It's in a way. I think they're so at the top of my list as people and humans, and not as like teammates. That I don't even know if they go.
Shitty teammates, but good humans.
Okay. Yeah, shitty teammates, but good humans for sure. No, just all around good humans. But in some ways, like picture them so much more as just like friends. That thinking about them as like best teammates is almost like overcrowded or overshrouded by like thinking about them as people that I care about.
Do we want to pause and watch the last possession of this game? We can cut it.
I'll take another bite of the bomb. Can't let Kens outdo me.
How about this? We'll watch while we dab here.
Explain the last dab for people that don't watch.
All right. Don't do it. Don't. We're about to do last dab. Don't the bomb
again.
Think
a pre-burn, like what do they call that in firefighting? An escape fire.
Oh yeah. We talked about the escape fire.
Interesting.
You burn the ground around you, and then the fire can't re-burn it. It's already burned. So if I take another bite,
just burn your mouth to the ground.
There's nothing that the
do
last
you?
one can do.
Do you?
So definitely shout out Hot Ones. Shout out
Nuggets win.
Go Nugs. Sweep.
Go Nugs.
Sweep, man.
Oh yeah, baby.
Rooms out.
How does Sean Evans do this? This is the last dab. We call it the last dab because it's tradition around here to put a little extra on the last swing.
Oh yeah.
You don't have to if you don't want to.
But we all want to.
But we encourage you to. Suggested.
I'm gonna. What do we want to do? I'll put it on my wings.
Is this like one of those easy Is it like a single drop type thing, or is it an open?
I can't imagine this one, especially after the taco one. Like, what could be harder than the bomb?
The bomb, dude. The bomb.
The bomb was crazy.
Yeah. One thing I've learned about the universe is I don't like to try to ask questions like that, because normally I feel like the universe finds a way to answer my question and teach me a lesson.
I think on the show, the bomb is usually the worst one for everybody, but
Oh, really?
yeah.
Wait, do they make the bomb?
No, they make 1, 5, and 10, I think.
Just go. Oh wow, you went with like a dollop. Were we doing a dollop or a dab?
No, that's good.
Yeah, do whatever you want. This is me being a fan of the show, I think, because I like it so much.
The bomb is from Kansas City. It's manufactured by Spice and Foods.
Yeah,
No
I think
way. Kim's literally poured the bottle on us.
Takes so long.
You need
These
to put
ones,
you need to put it in the oven and bake it, man.
I think that the partner of Hot
Don't
Ones that
splash
makes
that in somebody's eye.
the hot sauces is called Pucker Butts, which is pretty funny.
That's funny. Yeah, I feel like the bomb.
And
I honestly don't know if this can be the worst than the bomb.
All right, let's.
This one's called The Last Dab.
Before
right?
we cheers it, I would be interested in hearing you guys' teammates' answers too.
Oh,
Favorite teammates?
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Not
Well,
before
I'll
you
chew,
have
I'll
it,
chew.
but just
All
so
right,
you know.
let's go. I gotta ride my tongue.
Oh my God.
Oh my god.
I actually think the more wing you get on the bite, the better. I swear to God. I think the more meat you get.
I don't like the taste of that one either.
Better than the bomb.
Better than the bomb.
Not flavor wise though. It's actually like a kind of gross flavor.
Well, we did it. We're still going.
I would say the bomb, the worst. The bomb the worst. For sure.
It's still coming though.
I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know, man.
I'm starting to change my mind.
It's definitely getting, it is intensifying as I breathe and speak.
I'm sweating from every pore in my body.
Breathing out is actually really bad. Breathe out through your nose. Might help.
I'll just like spray snot everywhere if I do that.
It's so not good.
So my favorite teammates. Ben Laurie's one of them.
I think we're all going blind.
Yeah, Ben Laurie's up there for me. Taking it the U24 route.
This is bad, dude.
I really bonded with Xander, Quizon Tice.
Love that guy.
Go Kins, go Kins.
I'll also take it the U24 route. I have no favorite teammates.
I want to laugh, but I can't.
The bread.
Oh, some of my favorite teammates. A lot of good, a lot of people racing through my mind right now.
There's a lot of things racing through mine as well.
Buck, a good teammate, and roommate,
Feel like
which
my ears are
emphasized it. We talk a lot, so that's a good teammate. Not a good teammate because it's nice to have someone who you learn from a lot that can supply information. Quinn, a good teammate because he's good, so it's nice to like win and play with someone that's good, who also is good at frisbee.
Hi. I refuse it. I'm principal. Actually, I would take some.
I like teammates you can talk to about anything.
Hey,
Frisbee, non-frisbee.
we were teammates first season.
Mikey, good. One of my favorite teammates.
Is anybody else's legs tingling?
So my ears are ringing.
I'm kind of numb, honestly.
I feel like all my sensation is in my face.
My
The
mouth.
rest of my body is.
It's calming down for me. That was tough though.
I feel like hot, like you could do like a hot sauce psychedelic thing.
For sure.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a high going on.
I'm getting it.
Yeah. Grant would have been a good one to ask about that, like meditation with hot sauce.
Teammates for me. Sort of recent teammates, I guess. When I played Love Tractor, definitely Beef. I should call him Beef. Beef and Pete Gleason, two of my best friends and former roommates. And I'll put Maggie Chen up there as well, just as someone who's always supported me in a ton of ways on and off the field. Yeah, all three of them, super great humans, and three of my best friends for sure. All right, can we do like a bonus question here maybe before we wrap things up? And
Should we do a simple one?
well, we could read the email one.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that one. That guy deserves a shout out.
Oh man.
Right into the mic, thank you.
Throw up.
Yeah, I have felt like that several times.
I'm starting to regain control of my body.
Yeah, finally. This question that we had a great email from Ian Jetsam. Sorry, Ian, if I'm not pronouncing your last name correctly. A lot of nice things to say about the pod. His question from his a newly formed team.
Which came via email, which we don't get many emails, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, if you'd like to email us, you can reach us at show@podpracticepod.com.
Just okay, cool.
Newly formed team called Colorado Green Chilies just had their first tryout. A common sentiment that he's heard, I'll read it in his voice. A common sentiment I've heard, and one I increasingly think and believe in myself, is that the vast majority of a team's ceiling is dictated by its roster. Certainly, teams can put in hard work and strategize to improve margins, but knowing that every other high-level team is also doing that means that the roster talent will be the eventual differentiator. So my question is, do you all think that's true? He adds some more nuance to that, but that's generally the question. He does have a bonus part that I'll read to. Do you think this will change as the game evolves? Is it any different already for the AUDL compared to club? So a lot in there, but to sum it up, like roster versus strategy, and I have a ton of thoughts on this, from a coaching perspective and also a team building perspective that maybe as a guy's digging the Tillamook ice cream. But this to me is something that really should span across multiple seasons. Who wants to start? Should we start with Nut? Are you ready?
Start with Nut. I'm not ready.
Okay.
Wow, that's incredible.
That's really good, dude.
It's like the best thing I've ever had in my life.
For those that are wondering, it's just Tillamook old-fashioned vanilla ice cream,
Oh,
Really fucking good.
and it's really impressive. I mean, it cuts
how it works.
cuts the spice like no other.
This time we started with the play party and we're ending with the vanilla.
Yeah, that's
Send that to Cookie, man.
that's a good callback,
That's
Mikey.
good.
That's actually quite
That was
clever.
really good.
That's really good.
Quite clever, man. How long have you been setting that up? I'm starting to wonder if the kink thing was not even
It's
a real
fake.
story.
It's fake.
He
They
just
bought vanilla
knew.
ice cream
Him
before.
and Smith have been planning this for the whole day to bring this vanilla ice cream. Smith went and bought the vanilla ice cream. That's crazy. Well thought out, gentlemen.
Yeah, because Mikey did kind of just throw that kink out of nowhere, like early in the pod. Like he really forced it into.
Oh man.
I think I could be a writer for a show. I mean, Smith knows. I predict the shows as we watch them. Anyway.
All right. I think 100% that is accurate, but to a degree, right? Like if you take the 20 best players in the U.S. and you put them up, and with no strategy, right? Like they had a terrible strategy, they were running terrible schemes against like a mid-level regionals team that has the best schemes in the country. Like the talented team probably still wins. Granted, so much of that is like you can't remove their instincts and like the habits all the good players already have. So they'll probably have even if they don't get to talk about it, they'll figure it out on the field. But I think the roster limitation's not necessarily, especially currently in club and even in AUDL. You have to have talent if you want to win against the best teams, because the best teams are combining like a lot of talent as well as like good systems. But I think there are plenty of systems and structures and tactics you can use, like to leverage things back to maybe an even place. But obviously the big caveat with all this is you're going to have some baseline level of skill that allows you to compete with these good teams, right? Like if you can't complete passes at a consistent level and a really high level of consistency, then all the strategy in the world is not going to make up for like a lack of fundamentals. But if people are fundamentally sound, then I think you can leverage good systems and good structures and good tactics to like level the playing field against more talented teams. I mean, you see that like Florida used to run that. University of Florida in basketball, they'd like not have as strong of recruiting classes, but they had crazy training regimens because they would run like full court press all the time, because they would challenge people to not play them in half court. They would challenge them to play them in the full court and with fitness. And I think there's a lot of strategic things you can try to do to try to leverage opportunities to balance things out. Like Malcolm Gladwell's got a whole book about it, right? Like David and Goliath, about like trying to figure out ways to like leverage, and things that seem like strengths can actually be leveraged to be weaknesses. And I think that's true in this one as well. But I do think at some level roster talent is a limitation. But I think a lot of people can get a lot farther with a lot less than what they think they can.
A couple things that comes to mind for this. I think it's how you leverage like certain players in your team too. Like you could have someone who's maybe not like the most all-around talented person, but if you leverage them in a way that utilizes them in the best way, you're going to get a lot out of them, as opposed to like notwithstanding someone who's really good all around if you don't leverage them in a certain way. And we see what Nat was talking about too on the World Games stage too. Like those are the best players usually, or some of them, and they usually don't play the best games because they haven't played together and they don't have the systems in place for the longest amount of time. And so we do see it there. And I think something cool too is like in frisbee, you can, I don't know if this is like a good way to put it, but like a lot of people like aren't maximized. They're not professional athletes. This isn't their job. So if you're someone that like works out a bunch and really dedicates themselves, like you can get a leg up pretty quickly, which isn't the case for a lot of other sports. And kind of bringing it into our circle too, I don't think Bravo was the most talented team at nationals. When we won, I think we might have been 4 or 5, to be honest, most talented teams there. And we won. So there's that.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are a great case of things that went right? You lost 2 games in pool play and
Hell yeah.
like still won. Like nothing about that tournament record would suggest like you should be the team winning, right? But I think Grant made that point too. You like so many small things have to happen to win that tournament. But that's also true like at a microcosm level with games too, right? Like so many small things have to go right. So I think like that's where the systems and structures piece comes in, is because all you're trying to do is like leverage small moments over and over again. Like I'm like a believer in like there are no big things. There are only accumulation of a lot of small things, and it's like you can use structures and systems and tactics to try to like get more of the small things to fall your way. And if you can do that enough times, then like even if you're not more talented in terms of pure talent, like you still can win games. It's certainly not a case of the most talented team is always winning. It's a team that can find a way to leverage their skills in the best way possible.
Yeah, what I would say is that I think most of the time the team with the most talented roster wins, like bigger tournaments, bigger games, but that's because coaching and getting the most out of your team is so difficult and so hard. But you don't want to look at it as like an excuse, as like, oh, we don't have the best roster, we're not going to be able to win. Because if you're able to focus on the right things, get better as a team and a lot of right things, you can overcome roster deficits and win and beat teams that are more talented.
Yeah, I will say too though, like maybe as devil's advocate to Kins's point, like there is some level of like you have to be reasonable with the goals you're setting too. Like if you're going out and your talent level and whatever else about your team doesn't indicate that you are going to be able to like win certain games, like you have to be able to reframe goals, like team goals and outcome goals to be more realistic, right? Otherwise it's like you can't go out there as a first year team that maybe talent-wise, your ceiling is like competing at regionals and trying to make the bracket with your goal being like to win a national championship at the club level. And so you have to like change your success. And I think Mikey was going to mention this, or maybe he kind of hinted at it, but like it's also depending on what your goals are as a team and a program. Like a lot of this stuff is multi-year. Like talent is not a fixed
Right.
It's not a fixed variable. Like to Quinn's point, so many players get good in such a small amount of time. I mean, like I started in playing competitive frisbee my freshman year of college, essentially, and was pretty good by my senior year. Like a lot of players on UNC.
Won the Callahan.
Like Ben Snell was like that. Like didn't really play any before there. I mean, we had a lot of guys on that UNC team in college, and there are so many college players that are good examples of that, where it's like they didn't really play, and then in 3 to 4 years, like got quite good and like super impactful and well known on a national level. So if you take that multi-year approach too, then the talent, and don't treat talent as a fixed variable, both short term within a season and also long term over several seasons. And I think that changes the scope of the question a little bit too.
Yeah, we run into a ton of teams who really have no issues athletically. And some of it is coaching, or maybe they're like, I think Kinsey, you were touching on it. There's sort of lack of resources to be widespread, which is, one reason why Summit and Bravo we're trying to do more community events. We also have limited resources in terms of just how much capacity and time to run those things. But there's, I guess ask questions too. Like I would love to get more emails about this stuff. I know for certain that Tim Kafalas, TK, would love to hear from you. Maybe we'll just share his email for on the podcast, and he'll just be like spending 6 hours a day sending films.
He'll respond,
to it. Yeah, but and then the other 6 hours responding to people asking.
And I
questions.
feel fine doing that.
Yeah.
Sharing
Like-
his email.
No, and just give and
I feel good about sharing his email.
like deciding what TK is going to do with his time. Like I feel good about
Oh
that.
yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I think too, like to the talent thing, like I remember, like I don't know what Bird does. I guess I should know this.
No.
But like for like fall tournaments, if they ever play in like just kind of like, okay, like did you ever play in like club sectionals or anything like as a college team?
So Levi put a team together, I think, didn't he?
Yeah.
1 year.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Sometimes, sort of.
Like we did that my freshman year on Darkside, and it's like all these like all the guys not playing club, but it's everybody's like 23 and under, right? Like fairly athletic and pretty physically fit, and like our quarters matchup in club sectionals was like one of the not even Boneyard, it was like one of the other Masters team, and we were like, oh, we're gonna run these dudes around. And then they waxed us like 15-2. And it was like, okay, well, these guys are actually like good at Frisbee. We have no problem athletically. Like we're more athletic than almost everybody we're playing against. And they're playing with like 10 dudes. And they are just like way better like at all the technical aspects. They're attacking the right spaces, throwing to the right spaces. They're playing defense in a way where we're just running around chaotically and like neutralizing our own advantage. So I think there are a lot of ways, like if you at least meet like a minimum threshold of athleticism and fundamental skills, there's so much that you can do from a strategy level and a development level for your team where you can get to a point where you can compete in games, even if you're not winning them, right? Like, cause I think so much of winning is, there's always a bit of luck involved in terms of where things fall, but it at least gives you a stage where you can compete in games that maybe you thought otherwise you couldn't, just based on the vacuum of looking at things as just talent specific.
Yeah, and I think you can also focus on culture at any level of your team development. Finding the people that are really interested in buying in, being positive, supportive, wanting to get better. Having fun. There a ton of teams at all levels who just like you'll see them ripping into each other, or just even body language, or like the classic like somebody cut when it's like maybe look to your reset. I don't know, like there's so many different aspects of a team that lead to success down the road.
Yeah, and I guess the last thing on that too is I should clarify that like there's a difference between like using systems and like strategy and tactics to like try to improve your team, and like trying to come up with like gimmicks that like maybe get you a turn a game, like you run a super weird funky zone. So that's where it also goes back to a balance of what are your short-term versus long-term goals. Like you can keep things simple and just do simple, but like I guess high-level strategy, but like it's all fairly straightforward strategy things, but just trying to be able to execute it super well. I think so much, even at the club level, I think it's surprising sometimes to watch how often teams like mis-execute, or like you're guarding a guy that just scores deep goals and all of a sudden you overcommitted to an undercut and just got torched deep again, where there's like so many mental parts of the game that you can do to just increase your percentages without needing like gimmicks. It's just like improving your systems and structure, and all that is really just like a framework for improving fundamentals.
Awesome. Any closing thoughts for Nut?
I just have one closing thought, and you can clip this to the beginning. But if you're just listening to this on Spotify, you can maybe skip, unless you want to hear the pained reactions after we ate the wings. I would skip through the next 5 minutes after we ate the wing.
Sweet. Well, this was long overdue. Obviously, we were kind of holding you in our back pocket because we knew we could.
We can do whatever we want.
It's a good place to be, man. It's a good place to be. It's warm back there.
Thanks for coming on such short notice. Anything else before we say goodbye?
Follow, subscribe, listen on Spotify or any other form of media that this is on.
Let us know if you think Ian Sweden's a better thrower than me.
That was never the debate. It's not even a debate.
Because Ian Sweeney's so much better.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Peace out.